8th race of the second season of the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series rolls into the Magic Mile as we get set to go racing here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So far this season, 7 races on the schedule, 7 checkered flags, and 7 different drivers have taken said checkered flags, as only 3 races, including today, remain until we determine the 16 drivers that will battle in this season's playoffs. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Scott Rankin, and Scott, I think safe to say, based off of the last couple of weeks, the tracks we've been at, here today it's going to be all about who is the best at conserving those good years.
I mean, it always is. It's, long races, especially the package that we have, high downforce, that presses the tires quite firmly into the surface. They scrub a lot. They're pushing across the surface. They're doing a lot of damage. It's difficult. You got to manage those tires. 100% you have to manage those tires. There's not much you can really do if you're not managing those tires from the get-go. And look, we got a difficult race tonight. These guys got to put their heads down. They're going to look after their stuff, and they're going to make sure that they come out the other side.
These drivers here tonight going to take to the track for the BackFire 150, presented by Phillips Golf Academy. And mentioned about the fact that we had 7 different race winners. A couple of those race winners are down around that 16th in the standings cut line. Right now, Cam Caldwell currently sits on the bubble spot. Our Daytona winner from the season opener, Brock Silvati, sitting in 17, 12 points out. And it's actually really close from about 8th position down to around 22nd in the points. So New Hampshire today could be a big mover and shaker in terms of who is in a good position and who is not heading into the final 2 races of the season, Watkins Glen and Las Vegas. But let's go down trackside for pre-race ceremonies. Let's begin things with tonight's invocation, courtesy of Pastor Zach Woods.
Let's pray. Almighty God, I thank you that technology like iRacing exists so that we can connect with different people from different walks of life and just enjoy a good evening here at Virtual New Hampshire. Lord, as we get ready for tonight, bless us with patience. We definitely need to see some of that tonight. And Lord, I just pray that our conversations are fruitful and beneficial unto you. And we pray for a good race. And it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And now please join us tonight for our national anthem. Right, we are on mute.
Oh, say, can you
this is just barely going to hit right in the right ending point.
How do you think he went with the testing and whatnot?
I think it went good. Fortunately for me, I was slotted in as color commentator 1 and color commentator 2 in the 2 things I had to do. So I didn't have to deal with the producer talking in the ear, counting down for like commercials and whatnot. So I'm hoping that if I end up being part of the team, I end up being one of those slots, because I really don't want to have to put up with trying to hear 2 things at once. But I got into the TeamSpeak, and I'm sitting there listening to people talking.
Wait, we're not muted.
Tom Bourne going to be starting on the pole position here tonight, alongside of the 35. That is going to be second start of the season, Wesley Fuller. So our chances, at least up here at the front, looking good for a potential 8 for 8 indifferent winners on the season. TJ Roberts rolling off in the 3rd position, also looking for his first win of the season. But we get further into the schedule here, Scott, and it just seems like the chances are greater of us having a multi-time winner. What do you think? Track position here today going to be important, or do we see enough drivers that are able to conserve their stuff mid-pack, being able to work their way through the field if we go into a long green flag run?
I mean, both work. You've definitely, oh, well, we talked about it beforehand, you've definitely got to be kind to your stuff tonight. You can't just throw it away aggressively and expect it to stick. That's just not how this is all going to work. So look, head down, first and foremost, head down, let's get 5 laps in, let's adjust, let's see where we're settling in, because restarts, they're so crucial. You just need to use a little bit of give, use a little bit of take. Overtaking on the long run's also going to be difficult here tonight. It's not an easy track to overtake at with the longer run pace. But most importantly, it's those mistakes. A lot of drivers have made mistakes throughout the season, which is fine. We all make mistakes when we're driving these cars. We all struggle at different points throughout the season. It's how you deal with those mistakes. It's how you respond that I think is the big issue. And a lot of drivers are instead not looking at themselves immediately. They tend to do so very, very well after the race, mind you. But yeah, it's maybe looking back a little bit in the heat of the moment and going, hey, maybe there was a little bit more I could have done there. Maybe it was, it's not necessarily a lot of the other driver's fault. He was just reacting. There's a lot to go on tonight, and BackFire, I think over the course of the season has grown a lot. So look, I'm glad that New Hampshire is at this end of the season, because if it was first couple of races, we'd be in for a long one.
The first time it makes its debut here on the schedule. 27 drivers were scheduled to take the green flag here tonight. Looks like it will be 26 that will actually make it around here to the start of this event. Noah Owens and Joshua Billiter going to be bringing up the final row, as 24 drivers took time all the way back to Ron Gartner. Onboard's Toyota, Wesley Fuller Chevrolet, though, they come out of turn 4. The iRacing pace car hits pit road, and we are underway here in the BackFire 150 at New Hampshire.
Just start right the way through the pack. Nice, smooth, nice and consistent. Get yourself settled in now, guys. And I mean, Bourne's going to the point nice and early, but keep your eyes on the guys behind him. Clear air is going to be huge tonight, as it so often is.
Way up the track there in 1 and 2 was Wesley Fuller. He's going to lose second to Aaron Brown. Here comes TJ Roberts at the top. Saw Kyle Gardner further back there, having an issue off turn 2. Almost binned it into the inside wall.
Yeah, got to be careful. I mean, getting on the power here is tricky. Such a flat racetrack. The car just wants to rotate at all possible opportunities. So just make sure you settle that thing down as you're getting back to the power. Patience on the throttle is the real big picture tonight.
3 wide back around the 4th, 5th position. Roberts up the track, opens the door there for Trey Whitehead. Whoa! Out of shape is Woodard, trying to save it, cannot, right in front of Cam Caldwell. I think everybody's going to get on the brakes and avoid the 24, who was stopped right in the middle of the track. Now a couple of drivers up ahead, Gene Cato and Mike Sibanovsky getting together.
Yeah, and I think there was 2 wrecks that sort of happened in the middle there. It was guys trying to, first of all, dodge the initial caution and get out of the way of that one that was spinning, and then guys that are coming from way back further down the pack that are just trying to dodge things. And Woodard's done it to himself.
Started from the 8th position, and we saw the back end of that 24 just stepping out as he came off of turn 4. Here's another look at it, and a little contact there as well for the muffler man, Patrick McQuaid. As everybody else darts out of line, you had, I believe that was Ron Gartner getting into the back of Matthew Rodriguez, and then you saw Gene Cato spinning down in front of Mike Sibanovsky. We'll take a closer look at that one.
There's a lot to unravel from that caution. There's really is. It's not straightforward and simple. I mean, obviously Woodard just sort of gets on the gas and he spins himself, so that's his own doing. But it's the secondary issue for all the cars that are sort of dodging him, and it's difficult because you got cars going left, you got cars going right, you're trying to pick your way through. So, end of the day, I don't think there's much in that one at all.
And actually, the blue machine that Gene Cato made contact with, and they eventually then hit Sibanovsky, was the 38 of Clifford Corvaux. So add him to the list of drivers that got a bit of that incident. Looks like about 6 drivers in total involved in that one, and I'm not necessarily certain that maybe Wesley Fuller, when we saw him go way wide into 1 and 2 in the first lap, may have brushed the wall because he actually took the opportunity to come down pit road under this caution.
A couple guys that have the opportunity to come down pit road here. I think it could be just to reset their fuel strategy. They may want to be sitting around in the back end. So, look, there's There's a lot to do. I mean, it's going to be a long race. You got, again, settle yourselves in, guys. That you cannot understate that at all. Settling yourself in for the long haul is going to be such a big issue, I think, for a lot of these guys tonight, and we've seen it already. I mean, tires are cold, guys are getting on the gas a little bit more aggressively than they potentially would have liked. Causes our first caution.
Tonight's event, with this track called the Magic Mile, tonight's event is 151 laps. That final lap could be the all-important one here for a driver. Mention the fact that the point standings coming to this race are really close. 16 drivers, once the checker flag waves in a few weeks at Las Vegas, will be playoff contenders, but it's really close down around the cut line. But even a guy like Josh Billiter, who comes into this race 8th in the point standings right now, he's only 29 points ahead of that cut line. So there's plenty of opportunity for drivers. If they have a bad performance here today, they could head into Watkins Glen, into Las Vegas, not necessarily a must-win situation, but very much so needing consistent runs to combat a poor performance here today. So you got to wonder, some of those drivers that got bits and pieces of that wreck back there, just how much more they're going to be taking it easy here for the remainder of this race as Tom Bourne gets us back under the green flag.
Yeah, and guys in the back of the pack now got a completely and utterly different look at things. They've now got to settle a lot further down and make sure that they're comfortable and they're going to go the long haul, if you will.
Oh, man, that was Trey Whitehead just ahead there. Second place, third place actually, getting loose, and now he gets split three wide. That is going to be Mayu. Josh Mayu making his debut on the top, TJ Roberts on the bottom, and Trey Whitehead stuck in the middle. It settles out at least for third place, but now we're 3 wide for fifth.
Yeah, it's multi-wide right throughout the pack. I mean, one of the benefits of a flat track like this is that it is a driver's track. There is a lot of potential opportunity for overtaking if you can get it settled down nice and early.
Loose there, TJ Roberts was on the inside. There was last week's winner alongside of him. Brock Whitehead going to the outside. Jeffrey Vickery in the 96 following him as well. And there is DJ Daniel in the 23, who's still, and I can't believe I'm using that word, still looking for his first win on the season. 3-time winner last year. He's comfortably up there in the point standings, but still has a 0 in the win column.
Yeah, and that'll be playing on his mind, which is, well, I mean, he's better than that, and he knows that he's better than that, So, look, I mean, he's got to get his head down and he's got to get up there, but that's on him. He's the one that's got to respond.
Alexander Kerfan now trying the top side on Trey Whitehead. That's Christopher Lawrence to his inside. Kerfan, the winner a couple of weeks ago at Talladega. Right now holding on to that 5th position. And up at the front, things starting to possibly close up for the race lead. Tom Bourne had about half a second between himself and Aaron Brown, now making about 2.5 car lengths off the second corner.
That's it, just settle yourself in, make sure that you're getting there for the long run, but make sure at the same time that you're matching in pace. This is one of the better qualifying attempts that we've seen from Aaron Brown so far this season, which is good. He's finally starting to show what he's potentially capable of, and this is something that I've been disappointed with him thus far. I really want to see if he's capable of hunting down Tom Bourne tonight.
Brown, our winner back at Atlanta, as Jeffrey Vickery might lose a couple of positions here. Brock Whitehead around the outside. DJ Daniel looking to do the same, and Vickery, you saw that thing step out from underneath him. Nice job of keeping it straight. We got another car in trouble back there. Cam Caldwell, he's going to hang on to it. Another driver had a problem back there. I think that was Gene Cato, and I think he's gotten the steel guardrail.
Yeah, Cato's in trouble, I think, in a big way. So, look, I mean, you got to look after that car. What did we say? Keep the thing out of trouble? Well, now that's starting to pay heed. So, look, settle it down, guys. Settle it down. Long race here tonight. Another caution out.
Caution. I believe it's come out for Gene Cato in the 2 car once again. I think he's looped it around off of turn 4.
This will be interesting to see. Cato's had a rough night already. He actually got quite heavily collected in the earlier contact with Woodard. So what actually happened under that was that he just got hit, and the aftermath and everyone trying to scramble, and I think he's just made a solo mistake. Yeah, he's just made a solo mistake here.
The problem with spinning out at New Hampshire is your problems are just going to compound. I mean, he's already got so much heat built up in those rear tires after a spin off of 2. Then the car's just not going to take it all. He's going to have to use maybe a couple of laps to get those tire temperatures back down to get at least a little bit of grip off the corner. You saw right there, there just was no grip all that heat built up in the rear tires coming off of 4.
Yeah, so, settle it down, make sure that it's going to be an interesting one here. I mean, talking in terms of tire sets, they have got 6, so they do actually have a fair number of tire sets for the race, which is fantastic. So they've got options here. Gene Cato will probably come down and might just check out a set of tires at this point in time, get himself caught back up. He's actually under power in terms of things at the moment from what I've seen. So that damage that he got very early on, I think he's impacted by that, and I'm going to keep an eye on his stop here. I think he may just opt for the pressure tires.
Yeah, so far our second caution of the day, but the contact we've seen of drivers involved in the 2 yellows has been pretty minimal. Nothing that has been what looks like it would kill the race car and force them to use a faster pair. Nobody at this point in time is a faster pair in the hole, and as soon as I say that, 22 of Mike Sibanovsky actually just took on a faster pair, so he's the only one right now as a faster pair in the hole.
What are you doing?
I think the drivers are out to prove me wrong. I think the conspiracy goes both ways.
You think that you've got nothing to do with it? Good
I
job.
I think I'm the innocent party in this whole thing. Going back to Gene Cato, I mean, I was looking at the point standings coming into this one, and I mean, there's drivers this season that are up there potentially in playoff positions that have just kind of been under our radar. Cato is one of those drivers, tied for 10th in the points coming into this race. He's got right now about 21 points between himself and that 16th in standings cut line, so he's been what I kind of call quietly consistent. We haven't really given him a whole lot of TV time, I don't think, week after week, but these are definitely guys, him along with others like Josh Billiter, Patrick McQuaid. These are drivers that are up there right now in playoff positions, and really they're guys that we don't necessarily see up at the front consistently, but they're ones we have to keep an eye out for.
I agree. And I was actually not expecting Gene Cato to be that high in the points. I honestly expected him to be a lot further back, so he's done a phenomenal job. And if you have a look at the standings as well, I mean, Whitehead is so far ahead. Sorry, no, I'm looking at P13 through to 16, so there's 2 graphics here that you got to have a look at. Chris Woodard, that's understanding championship leader at this point in time. Kyle Gartner, that is phenomenal. That's a really good job from Kyle. He hasn't had any of those standout performances, but he's there. He's been consistent as well, so there's a lot of drivers that are doing that, having that sort of a run.
Kyle Gardner's a guy you cannot count out. Had a last-minute move last year in the next to last race of the season that got him into the Final Four to compete for the championship. So he is definitely one of those that plays the consistency game, as first and second going to get away for the time being. Third place now in command of Josh Mayu. It's going to be Trey Whitehead, almost in a 3-wide situation again. That time it was Lawrence looking to the inside. Curfan thought about a little bit lower. They now settle it out single file.
Yeah, there's action going. It's very difficult at this point in time to sort of pick up who's on the move and who's not. I think we've got definitely 2 cars that are probably a fair bit stronger than the rest in terms of their overall pace tonight, and that's Bourne out in front and Aaron Brown. I mean, it's going to come down to a race of attrition. I think these guys are basically just planning out when and where they're taking their tire sets for me.
You know, for Tom Bourne, his season did not get started the way that he wanted, had that dead last finish at Daytona, but we've seen him be very consistent. He was able to come back from that, 5th in the overall standings. I look at some of these guys, like Daniel, like Gartner, Bourne, Lawrence, a former winner at Daytona last season. Well, we'll get to that point in a moment, because Vickery has just spun it off of turn 2, and I think Kyle Gartner got collected.
McQuaid in a subsequent move, yeah.
Caution is now out, and I'm almost wondering if it was the McQuaid spin that brought the caution out, because I don't think the 96 and the 49 were spun out until they were to the infield grass.
So then whatever happened between the 96 and the 45 is a subsequent incident. Well, it is what kicked it off. I mean, the 96 gets loose, comes down. He's just got a lot of turn angle on. It's just patience. Guys just with minor overlaps. I mean, those guys, there's nothing in that. There's no malice in that whatsoever, which is, it's good to see. And drivers are immediately on the comms just saying, hey, look, I mean, nothing in that. I didn't mean any of the contact, that's what I wanted to see this week.
Hard to tell there. Was the 96 getting loose, and that's what kind of had him turn down across the 49? Yeah,
that's what he said. And the 77, it looks like it's just a little bit of looseness at the same time as neck coat that actually completely gets it out of shape. So, such is life.
Kyle Gartner did get a little bit of that steel guardrail down there. Looked like it was with the left rear and left front. There's McQuaid, who I think he may have brushed the outside wall there with his spin. So a 3-car incident there off of turn 2. Have to see about the Kyle Gartner machine. I mean, there's a number of safer barriers around this racetrack, but
I don't think he found
midway
them.
down the back straightaway, there's no safer barriers there. Actually, the entire back straightaway. You've got steel guardrails, about the first 50% of the inside of the back stretch, and then you've got tire barriers the remainder of the way down to the entrance of turn 3.
I don't think he found them. I think that's just hard luck. It's difficult, and you can see the guys, like, the entire field seem to be struggling, except for, like, 1 or 2 guys out in front, with that car just getting loose and rotating a little bit off the rear. So, look, I mean, everyone's got to use that patience and got to use that throttle pedal very conservatively. And right now, I think we just got a lot of guys. Everyone's just sort of fighting for a little bit more track position than they necessarily need this early on. Particularly, I was talking to Patrick McQuaid just before we went live, up there and spent a fair bit of time talking to him. He definitely echoes sentiment that we've been talking about him over the last couple of weeks. He's put himself in some good positions, and he's definitely had pace at different points throughout the season, but he hasn't necessarily been able to pull it off. Now, he says a lot of that does come down to luck, and then we talked about it. You know, you create your own luck. You know, you put yourself in these positions. So he said, yeah, look, ultimately my decision-making maybe necessarily hasn't been the best, and that's something that he's going to work on towards the run to the playoffs as well. I think he's got an option. I said this to him. I think you've got a chance to win a race. There are definitely been races throughout the season we've been strong enough to win a race. It's just about grabbing maybe a second or third when that move is just going to be too high risk. And he mirrored those sentiments as well. So keep your eyes on McQuaid to run back through the field here.
McQuaid was definitely in the conversation of somebody that could have won a couple of weeks ago at Talladega Superspeedway. And just an update on Chris Woodard, who brought out the first caution. He's been able to work his way up to the 11th position, and I do believe he has some fresh tires on that machine as well, so we'll keep an eye on him as he tries to work his way further through the top 10. I want to quickly just go back to the question I was going to ask before we had that yellow flag wave. You know, guys like Gartner, Daniel, Bourne, Lawrence, these guys look like they are easily going to make their way into the playoffs, but they don't have a win this season, and we've seen them run up at the front week after week. Does that nag at the back of your mind, or do you just come into a race just planning on consistency? Because, you know, going back to the case of Kyle Gartner last year, he made it into the Final Four without having a single victory, proving that consistency is key.
Yeah, he's definitely good enough to be able to do that as well. It's difficult. I think Bourne needs to register a win in that column just because of the playoff point bonus. And the major reason for that is I don't think he can really allow himself any further of a margin to the other drivers within that playoff. If he lets them go and he lets them have an advantage, that's a huge margin that he's behind, that he's playing catch up the whole way through.
Green flag's going to come out here. Lap 22 will go on the board. Our third restart of the day. Tom Bourne's been very good at opening up daylight before they even get to turn 1. Does it again. Aaron Brown into second. Lawrence into third. The battle right now is going to be for fourth place on back. Trey Whitehead doggedly on the top side of Josh Mayu.
Whitehead, I was talking to Whitehead a lot before the stream as well, and I said, you know, you guys have been very, very aggressive this season. What do you think of your runs so far? And he agreed, you know, we're definitely aggressive drivers. So it's interesting to see how he adapts out of that tonight, whether he just starts to settle down a little bit more as well.
Whitehead is 15 points ahead of the cut line coming into this race, 13th in the point standings. Brock Whitehead, who we saw go to victory lane last week, he's jumped up all the way to 9th in the point standings, and very impressive debut. I know it's early on, but he was also looking good in practice. Oh, we got to spin the back. Zach Woods, I believe, was the car that went around there off of turn 2, and the yellow flag is going to wave. That was towards the rear of the field, so there really wasn't much in terms of oncoming traffic.
That's good, and I mean, you heard Zach Woods talk about it during his announcement, his invocation before the broadcast as well. He definitely said that everyone's going to need to use a little bit of patience. Everyone's going to have to use their heads a little bit tonight, and I think he's just got a little bit overzealous on the throttle. It's racing. It is what it is.
Nearly got the right rear quarter panel of Jeffrey Vickery, but just a solo car spin there off of turn number 2. A lot of these drivers, and we knew this coming in, they were going to be dealing with the loose sensation off of 2 and off of 4. What are some of the things as a driver that you can do when you start to feel the back end coming around? I mean, is there any way to save the race car, or is it basically just let it spin and hope you don't get hit?
No, there is. And I mean, first and foremost, so there's two sorts of things, right? And I experienced this actually with my dirt biking as a youth. So I was very good at effectively oval racing on dirt bikes, which is an interesting thing. So with bikes in particular, generally racing on dirt, you're going to feel that back end start to come around, right? You can roll off the throttle. Now, if you roll off the throttle completely and utterly, you completely shut down the throttle, what happens then is your rear tire goes from, I have some grip, to I have all grip. And it flicks you back immediately in the other direction. So you've got to be smooth with rolling off the throttle when you're spinning. And when that rear starts to come along, and counter steer just a little bit. And again, all of these inputs, the smoother you are, the better the chance. You need to react immediately, but it has to be a smooth reaction to save the car. If you jerk it immediately in the opposite direction, you're going around in the opposite direction.
David Modespa, we saw going around there. He's going to get one of his 2 laps back. Made an unscheduled stop under the last green flag run and lost a couple laps as a result. So he will be the only car 1 lap down on this upcoming restart, and that will be in the 26th position. Real quickly, going back to the cut line as far as the playoffs are concerned, mentioned that Brock Silvati, our Daytona winner, he is 17th in the points coming into this one, and it's not a win in your in system, so right now he is in trouble of not advancing into the playoffs, and he's not in tonight's field. We actually haven't seen him for quite a number of weeks. Another driver that was scheduled to take the green flag here tonight, he was on the grid, however, he did not actually come around to receive the green flag to start this race, and that's the 98 of Jeremy Richmond. Well, Richmond comes into this race 13th in the point standings. He's only about 20 points ahead of the cut line, and with not taking the green here tonight, he could be in a bit of a treacherous situation heading into Watkins Glen next week.
He's in a very treacherous situation. I mean, I'd have to look at the point standings again, but it's going to come down to the drivers that are around him and the positions that they sort of finish in. When we're looking at who's below the cut line, like you said, the first car below that cut line, Brock Silvati, then you've got a four-way tie for David Motorsport, Matt Fleming, Noah Owens, Christian Ruse, Mike Simonovsky, Clifford Corriveau, TJ Roberts. So that covers us back to 75 points below that cut line. And in terms of things above that cut line, Richmond's only about 16 points above that cut line, 15, 16 points above that cut line. So he's got a 100-point margin that he can sort of lose before he's way out of contention. But that's all. You don't want to be giving up points, because once you give up points, it's so difficult to get them back.
Those drivers that you named off there outside the cut line down to TJ Roberts, those theoretically would be the drivers that still have a mathematical shot in today's race, as well as the next 2 weeks, to be able to get up there into the top 16. The next one out will be Ryan Sizemore. And remember, Sizemore missed a couple of weeks. Races. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Sizemore missed a couple of weeks due to being hit with the COVID epidemic, so effectively kind of taking him mathematically out of the hunt for battling for a championship. But getting ready here for the 4th restart of the day. Tom Bourne, he's mixed it up on where he wants to go. Nobody has been able to time when he gets through the gears. Let's see if he can do it again. Indeed he can. My goodness, Aaron Brown caught napping. He might actually be under fire from Lawrence for 2nd place.
Yeah, and that's not a good restart from Aaron Brown. And this is really good car control, really good timing from Tom Bourne as well. So this is phenomenal. This is how you set it up.
See, there it's Lawrence kind of pushed up the track, almost into the driver's side door of Aaron Brown. Now that low line loses the momentum off the corner. Brown tries to clear for the runner-up spot, and Trey Whitehead right there as well, trying to pounce. The outside line seems to be the lane you want to be in to be able to make passes, just basically, I think, because you're able to get a little bit more power down on corner exit.
Yeah, that's it. And just having a look at practice, JKR Motorsports cars were all running towards that top groove. That's where they preferred to run. Oh, Whitehead got a big fishtail on. It was stepping out. We call that a tank slapper in the old motorcycle business.
I thought for a moment his engine was going because there was some smoke coming off the rear decklet of that 33 with that slide you were talking about. Nice job of gathering it back up, but now Curfan, he looks to take advantage, and look who's now made his way up into the 8th position. That's the 24 of Christopher Woodard, who we saw looped around on the back straightaway less than 5 laps in.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of the action too. Somebody else I'm sort of keeping an eye on as well is DJ Daniels, which is, it's incredible to me that that guy has gone absolutely nowhere. And that's not a good sign for his championship hopes as well. He's got a big old egg in that win column, I believe, as well. And DJ Daniels will be ruining that. That's a lot of missed opportunities for bonus points, and I think he's had some potential to win some races this season. So he needs to clean his act up. He's got a couple weeks to grab one, so he needs to go out there and run it as hard as he can.
Right now in the 4th position, as Woodard almost got the wall there off of turn 2, trying to catch up to the 99 of Alexander Kerfan. 2nd place, Christopher Lawrence will not go away, runs about a half groove lower through 3 and 4, trying to get up to the back bumper of Aaron Brown, another driver much like DJ Daniel, who was a winner last season, but this season looking for his first win on the year. Rebel Racing so far this season only has one victory, and that's courtesy of Woodard back at Texas.
And what a victory that was as well for Woodard. He ran a great race. Actually, was it Texas or Atlanta? I'm thinking Atlanta.
Actually, I believe it was Atlanta. I think I might have gotten him and Aaron Brown mixed up. I think actually Brown won at Texas, and it was Woodard at Atlanta. So, you know, D-shaped mile and a half. Get him confused.
I mean, I'm not going to make that comment. You know what? Never mind. Forget it. No, I'll talk to you about it off stream. I'm not saying that on a broadcast. Look, to be perfectly honest, yeah, DJ Daniels, I mean, he's had the team swap, he's settling back down again. I talked to a lot of the drivers beforehand, and they said, look, if there's a couple drivers that you think are aggressive, both of the the Whiteheads are in that equation. Christopher Woodard's another one, and then DJ Daniels is the other. They're the major drivers that you're looking for aggressives. And then after that, everyone just sort of mentioned the entire JKR team. So, look, I mean, there's quite a few drivers out there that are going to lose allies coming towards the back end of the season. The kinder you are to the drivers around you, generally when you're in a playoff scenario, they are going to be much kinder to you in that playoff scenario and potentially award you what may save your life in a playoff. So these guys they've got a couple weeks here, especially for the guys that are locked in, basically. So I'm looking at DJ Daniels, Tom Bourne, Aaron Brown, these sorts of guys. They're effectively locked into the playoffs if they have consistent finishes like they are. Time to earn some friends. Go run in the back.
Woodard around in the middle of 1 and 2. Caution's going to fly. Again, nobody hit him, but he was flat sideways in front of a bunch of drivers.
That's I've actually been running some official races with Chris Woodard. He's taken a couple of days off, a couple of days away from the sim this week. I'm starting to wonder.
He got some help. This time he got some help. Watch the 3 of Brian Sizemore right behind him going into turn 1. You're going to see definite contact.
Okay, there's beef there. There is definite beef there. I was talking to Sizemore before the broadcast as well. Sizemore said Chris Woodard, not a friend of that team. So they've got something in for him, which is good. I mean, it creates stuff for us up here in the booth, but like Sizemore Motorsports and Chris Woodard, not friends.
Right, Sizemore, of course, coming off that runner-up finish last week at Charlotte that saw a Sizemore Motorsports 1-2 finish with his teammate Brock Whitehead taking that victory, but it's a mile in length and it can be considered a short track in New Hampshire. As we know, short tracks can breed short tempers, so we'll keep an eye on the 24 and the 3 during the remainder of this race, as there's still a long ways to go, and first time that we're going to see our race leaders hit pit lane.
Which is good. I think this is a good distance. I mean, 37 laps in out of 151. They've gone effectively a quarter of the way, just shy of a quarter. No, bang on a quarter of the way through the race. So I've had a lot of trouble with math on stream this week, which is really odd for me. Yeah, look, I think this is a perfect opportunity to come down pit road, and it's even better that most of the field's going to be doing it. Tire fall-off is definitely evident here, and, you know, shorter tracks breed shorter tempers, and flatter tracks breed hotter tires. You know, you need to drive it like a milkshake, Seth.
You do. Yep, 37 laps in, and he finally finds a milkshake reference. There you go. So Bourne won the battle off pit road, but he will be 4th on this upcoming restart, as Jeffrey Vickery and Mike Sibanovsky, who actually had pitted earlier, they are going to stay out. Looks like Sizemore from 3rd place is going to pit this time by, so it'll actually be Tom Bourne up in 3rd. Aaron Brown, Christopher Lawrence will complete the top 5, and this is a preservation call, I would have to assume, on the 96 and the 22, because they don't want to come down pit road and take on yet another set of tires.
Potentially, they're also looking to buy themselves some track position, is the other side of the coin. So right now, obviously, the mid-pack is being quite aggressive. There's a lot of drivers buckling around, and you don't want to have to be dodging spinning cars coming off of the turners. So what they're trying to do is just put themselves ahead of all of that. They're going to cede a lot of positions over the next 10, 15 laps as guys make their way past, but ultimately, up until that point, they're going to be ahead of basically everyone.
We should get the 1 to green signal this next time by. This caution is going to put David Modespa back on the lead lap. So all 26 drivers that took the green to start this race on the lead lap will be on the lead lap here, coming to the 5th restart of the day. Vickery and Sivanovsky, they're going to be the top 2. They've got older tires, 13-lap old tires for Vickery, 25-lap old tires for the 22 of Sivanovsky. Then you've got Bourne, Brown, and Lawrence, the top 5. Trey Whitehead up in 6th. DJ Daniel in 7th. Alexander Kerfan, Josh Mayu, and Joshua Brock Whitehead are going to be the top 10 here when we get ready to go back under the green flag. Vickery's going to elect the inside line here on this restart. And now, if you're Tom Bourne, what do you do in this situation? Because on all other previous restarts, you have been the one to determine when everybody goes. Now you're going to have to rely on somebody else's acceleration point, and I think the last thing you want to do is force an issue 3 wide going into turn 1 since you've got such a strong race.
Well, I mean, that is both the best and worst thing that you can possibly do. The best thing, because those are old tires in front of him and he clears them immediately, and Aaron Brown's not going to be able to do that. The kicker here is that Vickery in a JKR car has control of this pack, and Aaron Brown is on the outside of Tom Bourne. I think Aaron Brown's going to get a huge jump here, and there's going to be a big issue for Tom Bourne.
And what does everybody else behind Tom Bourne do as well? Do they see this at the opportunity to be able to get around him for the top position? Green flag out. Vickery waited quite a while there before deciding to go. He's going to open up some daylight, but let's see what the fresh tires against old tires look like through the center of the corner.
Oh, Vickery so deep in there. He was not expecting to have to brake that hard. He really sent it in there nice and deep.
Ooh, Sibanovsky's in trouble. He had a little contact with Kerfan back there. Bourne going to try the inside again. Oh, Vickery almost to the wall that time. Aaron Brown's going to clear his teammate. Bourne back to the point, but Brown, a big run there out of 4. He might have a shot down here into 1. He wants the top side. Bourne's not going to let him have it.
Yeah, Bourne's really going to be aggressive with his blocking.
Bourne into the outside wall. Caution's going to wave as he gets Jeffrey Vickery. No caution yet. More drivers piling in. That was the 61 that got a piece of it. Mayu. Now the caution flies, but that took a long time for the yellow flag to officially come out. Several drivers getting some damage at the 54 was spun right in front of the field in turn 1.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, the yellow didn't come out for an extended period of time because there wasn't something for the yellow to come out. You got to look at this from a coding perspective when you look at automatic yellows, Seth. And now, if the 95 makes contact with the 54 and the 54 is at a 45-degree angle, there's still a chance he can save that. And iRacing tries to allow the drivers to save those sorts of wrecks because every time that a driver's like that, if caution come out, we'd never get a green flag lap ever. I mean, you know, that's just the nature of things. You've got to allow some leeway. So iRacing system allows the leeway. This is one of the systems where the system doesn't work though, and the yellow comes out when the car starts to come back down at a 90-degree angle to the track, because that is the first moment where there is a confirmed caution in the official eyes. Now, human eyes, we can pick that up. We can go, oh yeah, that car's going to shut the wall, and that car's going to start coming back down, and there's going to be caution immediately. But there is no way to code a computer to pick that up and make that prediction.
All right, a tally here on the list. The drivers that got bits and pieces. 24 of Chris Woodard was involved. Mentioned Mayu already. Alexander Kerfan was involved. Vickery in the 96. I believe Brock Whitehead in the 31 may have gotten a piece. There may have been a little bit of contact between Kyle Gardner and Ryan Sizemore as they were trying to check up for the incident. Kerfan, I think, got the worst out of all of that as the entire front end of his race car is missing. But this is one of the things about New Hampshire as well, especially with what we knew coming into this race. Everybody wanting that middle to outside line. And we'll see here from this camera view if maybe the 54 came down onto the 95 or if the 95 pushed up the track. But it's kind of one of those cases of everybody wanting that same piece of real estate.
Okay, so this is a complex one for a couple of reasons, right? If you have a look at the way that these guys have been racing for the last 30 laps, by and large, Tom Bourne has wanted to be down a lot lower on the racing surface, and Aaron Brown has been running the high line. Brown gets to his inside. This is not where Brown wants to complete the overtake. Brown wants to be further up the track, so he's trying to take his regular arc and doesn't make the adjustment to Bourne. Bourne definitely comes down, but at the same time, Bourne wants to pinch the guy. Bourne wants to stop his momentum. Ultimately, this is just a racing incident. Both drivers misjudging where they think their competition really wants to be, and Aaron Brown is probably taking it a little bit deep as well. I don't necessarily think he's dumped him by and large. Like, I don't think that there's any attempt to make that an intentional wreck. And if you have a look at the positions, Bourne definitely comes down and turns himself as well. So that it's one of those incidents where both drivers have made big mistakes that cause that issue.
I definitely agree with you in the case of Aaron Brown kind of being outside of his comfort zone, because as we saw there before they even got to turn one, he wanted the top side. He was trying to get to drivers right on Tom Bourne going into turn one, and Bourne slammed the door and forced Aaron Brown to do something different, something he has not done all day, and that's enter with his car on the inside line.
And it's decision making, and this is what I talk about by and large. When you have a look at Patrick McQuaid, decision making like this from Tom Bourne, he makes a slightly different decision, and Aaron Brown as well. They've both got the option here to make different decisions, right? They both make an aggressive decision. The racers, they're going for the lead of a motor race. These guys are trying to make decisions, and especially from Tom Bourne, you've got to look at it from a defensive perspective as well. There is a big part of this. He's the guy that is ahead. Who's the guy that's most likely that's going to end up in the wall in this instance? It's always the lead car that's more likely to end up in the wall. It's a lot harder for the chase car to end up in the wall. So Bourne will be cognizant of that. He will very much be aware that he's going to be the guy that ends up in the fence if he makes a wrong call. He's still going to protect his lead. He's still going to try and make sure that he pinches Aaron Brown so that Aaron Brown can't get back to the throttle as aggressively. He just overdrives it. By and large. I mean, you know, it's like I said, but at the same time, Brown definitely overdrives the corner entry as well. There's mistakes. Look, it's one of those ones that's, you can say definitely both drivers are at fault. Would you issue a penalty if this was a road racing scenario with race control involved? No.
Seventh caution of the day, Ron Gartner going around there out of turn number 2, and boy, a little bit of a heart-stopping moment for Alexander Kerfan, who was just coming off of pit lane. They had to split him 3 wide with one car on the racetrack and one car on the access road leaving pit lane. Nobody hits the 39, though. A timely caution there for Kerfan, who had lost 2 laps sitting on pit road getting damage repaired on his 99, so he'll get one of those back, I believe. Actually, correction on that. I think maybe Joshua Billiter in the 8 may be a lap down ahead of him. But it looks like it was just a case of the 39 getting loose as he was trying to make a pass there on the older tires of Zibanovsky. Like, close call there for Patrick McQuaid. I was really nervous here because he hit the inside wall and almost looked like he was going to bounce back out into the racetrack. And fortunately, he didn't move up any further than he did. Otherwise, we could have had another bunch of torn up race cars heading off of turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. Again, you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. So, look, I mean, settle it down. I'm just going to step out just for 2 minutes, and I'll be right back, Seth. My apologies.
All right, so as we look here on board with Patrick McQuaid, the 77. Well, you can just see right there, probably a helpless feeling for Ron Gartner as the back end of that car snaps around, and a little bit of contact there to the right front for Patrick McQuaid. McQuaid's still going to be in the 7th position here for this upcoming restart. Looks like Josh Billiter is indeed going to be the lucky dog driver here under this caution. He just went around to get his lap back this time by. So Kerfan's going to be trapped 2 laps down, and he has used a faster pair, has Alexander Kerfan. Chris Woodard has also used a faster pair. Tom Bourne has used a faster pair. And then, as already mentioned, Mike Zibanovsky in the 22 has used a faster pair. So 4 drivers at this point in time are a faster pair in the hole, as we have yet to reach halfway in this race. Aaron Brown's going to be the leader when we go back green. Lawrence will line up in 2nd. 3rd place is going to be DJ Daniel. Brock Whitehead now in 4th, and Trey Whitehead, who we saw have another near moment on that previous restart off turn 2, he'll be restarting in 5th. Mike Zibanovsky continues to hold pretty good track position despite being at a huge disadvantage tire-wise to the rest of the drivers behind him. He'll be in 6th. Patrick McQuaid, who we just rode on board with, will be lined up 7th. TJ Roberts, Noah Owens, and Ryan Sizemore, they're going to complete the top 10. And even a couple of those drivers just mentioned, like Noah Owens, we saw a couple of restarts ago where he had a long slide, a long fishtail down the back straightaway, but able to keep that thing in one piece, and right now reaping
He's
the
tank
reward
slapper.
from inside the top 10.
Use the motorcycling term. It's more fun to talk about. Tank slapper. And the big thing about tank slappers is they're great for actually shaking that milkshake back up. You know when the milkshake starts to settle back out? You get a big tank slapper on, you shake them, just by holding it, you're shaking because you're fighting the wheel, shake that milkshake back up, smooth milkshake again.
As a man that's never ridden anything on two wheels with the exception of a bicycle, tank slapper is not in my vocabulary.
Look, Seth, if I never have a little bit of fun with you, then we're never going to get anywhere, okay?
You know,
now you're aware of a
this is
tank
true.
slapper.
This is true. My friends are going to give me a weird look when I say I'm tank slapping on a bike, though. But anyway.
No, well, you don't tank slap on a bicycle. You tank slap anything with an engine. Because it needs a tank. You've got to have a tank of gas to tank slapper.
If I put a little motor on a bicycle, does that count?
I mean, you put the card in the back wheel. That's everyone's favorite trick, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is. Man, we're going way back in my childhood now. Let's not do that. Anyway, Aaron Brown getting ready to get us back under the green flag. Interesting, he's elected the inside line here because he is the control car. But we saw that he was a lot more comfortable on the top. I would have thought he'd want the outside line here to have the higher entry into turn one. Maybe he thinks he's going to get a good enough restart that he won't even have to worry about that here as the pace car dives onto pit road, and we're back underway 50 laps into tonight's festivities at New Hampshire.
Yeah, and it's about the reason why, Seth, is because he's actually trying to set it up so that he gets such a good run and a good entry. So it was all about that initial jump and then blocking off the run. From there, he can take whatever line he wants through the corner, but Lawrence won't be able to make the overtake, which is smart. That's very, very smart decision making from Aaron Brown.
It looked like he got a little bit loose, though, going into turn one. I thought maybe Lawrence would be there to capitalize, but now the battle is going to be back for the 7th position. That's Mike Sibanovsky still trying to hold off on those worn Goodyears. Noah Owens is going to slide up to the 7th position now. Ryan Sizemore will now peer to the inside for the 8th position, and here comes Matthew Rodriguez. New peak colors on that 57 out of Sky Motorsports, and he's now cracked the top 10.
No, Matt Rod, don't get yourself on camera. You don't spin it, buddy. Start hiding in the back again. You don't get on camera that way.
Now he's got TJ Roberts all over his back bumper. There is the 24 of Chris Woodard, and he's only 4 cars away from that 3 machine. Remember, Woodard's a faster pair in the hole already. What happens when he gets up to the vicinity of Sizemore? We're about to find out, as these two had previous contact earlier on tonight.
Yeah, breathe, guys, breathe. Make sure that you're thinking about what you're doing. Woodard's a faster pair in the hole, so Woodard has got a really big responsibility here to make sure that he's looking after his car. Any damage from now is going to maintain itself throughout the race. Keep your eyes in the background of that one as well, because Tom Bourne's on the way as well.
Yes, he is. Another driver that's a faster pair in the hole, led early on in this race. Oh, contact in the back! I think that was the Gartners getting together. Kyle Gartner and Ron Gartner, and now they're wrecking up into turn one.
Oh, it was Hubka. Sibanovsky, so Gardner just, I think he makes contact. I think he bounces off the wall and collects Hubka. And I have no clue what happened there.
There is Chris Hubka's number 5. A lot of damage there on the front of his Rebel Racing Chevrolet. We'll go back and see what happened here. This was a midway down the front straightaway. It's Hubka on the bottom, Kyle Gartner on the top, 22 of Sibanovsky up ahead of them. Yeah, wow, you're right. Gartner just hits the outside wall, and somehow that shoots him down into Hubka. Alexander Kerfan, a lot of damage on the 99. He's already a faster pair in the hole. Gene Cato in the 2 also getting a piece.
I mean... So the reason that Gartner gets involved with Sibanovsky is that he's trying to pull the car up, but he's already, upset. The car's not 100% happy, so therefore his ability to slow the car down is massively compromised. So there's literally nothing most of those guys can do at that point, and it looks really, really bad. But ultimately, it's just what it is.
Kerfan in the 99, the car that Matthew Robinson put in championship victory lane last season. And a big piece of that, as we saw when we rode on board with him, and already a faster pair in the hole, 2 laps down. I don't want to say that that's his race over, but certainly it's going to be a long remainder of the day here for him. Of course, had that victory back at Talladega. He comes into this race currently situated 4th in the overall standing, so it looks like he is at least safe at this point to advance into the playoffs. But that's another thing, too. You look at some of these guys up there like Woodard, Kyle Gardner, DJ Daniel, Kerfan, Tom Bourne, and right now they look like they are shoo-ins to get into the playoffs, but you can't just rely on that, because a lot of times we talk about the momentum, the good momentum or bad momentum heading into the playoffs.
I mean, momentum is definitely a thing, but at the same time, it's a mental thing. It's a psychological thing. I know personally, I'm quite good at shaking that off, but there are a lot of guys that'll let that hang over themselves for. Well, actually, I retract that statement. I am actually not good in terms of racing and shaking it off. Other sports, very good at it. Not racing. But that's just it. You're the one that's in control of what you let hang over you. If you feel like you've been underperforming, if you feel a little bit frustrated, you're likely to push the car a little bit beyond its limits. You're likely to overdrive the car. But that's on you. You're the one that is in control of how you drive that car, how you adapt, So let's see what these guys can learn from this, and let's see how they adapt.
Add a couple more drivers to the faster pair list. Both the Gartners, Kyle and Ron, taking on their faster pairs here, as well as the 38 of Clifford Corbeau. So it's starting to get to the point of the race where it's going to start getting easier to name off the drivers that have the faster pairs intact than the drivers that are already a faster pair in the hole. The highest running of the drivers that have used their faster pairs still is that 24 of Christopher Woodard. He's going to be restarting around Ryan Sizemore. They're going to be 9th and 10th in this upcoming restart. But one thing that I observed there when the two of them got in the same vicinity just before that caution came out, Ryan Sizemore giving an awful lot of room, it seemed, to that 24 machine. So we'll see. Honestly, I think if you're Chris Woodard, obviously you'd be upset, but you're big picture racing here still as well. You're trying to make sure that you're going to be advancing into the playoffs and everything. I know that maybe you'd like to be able to get a little bit of payback, but what's the sense of doing that? Because here's another thing that's on the line. Said at top of the program, 7 races, 7 different winners. We're yet to have a multi-time winner this season. I guarantee you, all 7 of those drivers that have already found victory lane, they want to be that first guy.
Yeah, of course they do. And the other thing is, I think Sizemore's now served up Woodard, and he's happy. He's satisfied. He's got his revenge. The reason Sizemore just said, I'm not happy with him because he's just aggressive. He's just throwing some unnecessary moves. He just wanted to let Woodard know, hey, let's deal with this and let's get it over and done with. It's now over and done with. There's a couple weeks to play off, and ultimately, in Woodard's shoes, let that go, because you cannot go into a playoff situation with that being an issue.
Have to wonder, though, is that a preview of what we're going to see in the closing stages of this race? Because it may come down potentially to a bump and run to be able to pass someone for position, as Woodard out of shape back there out of turn 2. He drops outside of the top 10, now battling with Bourne. Ooh, that's close there as he pushes up almost in the left rear quarter panel.
Got to be really, really careful with that. You can't just be pushing all the way up the track. And Bourne right now, these are teammates. These guys are going to work together. This is Woodard not having one of the best races that he's ever had, but Tom Bourne has controlled a lot of this race from the front. You got to let that one go. Work together as teammates, find that gap and go for it. And wait, Bourne's no longer on that team, actually. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, Bourne over with Sky Motorsports. Woodard with Rebel Racing as Patrick McQuaid, Noah Owens. Good battle between these two drivers. McQuaid right now inside of the top 16. Noah Owens trying to make his way in. He's going to hold off Patrick McQuaid for that 6th spot. And almost, I think he did punt into the back of the 31 of Brock Whiter. Yes, he did. You see the 31 up into the wall. Man, he's awfully lucky he hit the 31 square. That might have very well been our next yellow flag.
Yeah, I think Noah Owens, the Whiteheads have received a lot of criticism by a lot of the drivers over the last couple of weeks for their aggressiveness and not necessarily the greatest of decision making. So ultimately, from the Whiteheads' perspective, if you're going to use this is an opportunity for you to learn something out of that. This is what's going to get dealt back in your direction if you continue to be that aggressive. So hey, maybe time to calm it down, maybe time to look, maybe time to use that head a little bit and switch it back on. Ultimately, though, the Whiteheads don't feel like it's just. They feel like they're just racing everyone as they normally would. There's no real aggressiveness, there's no real poor decision making being made from them. So I don't know, there's a good opportunity here for both sides to review the argument and both sides to go, hey, we're a little bit wrong. We're gonna pull back a little bit on it. Oh, and Owens.
Whoa! And that's Matthew Rodriguez.
And that's Woodard
is
involved in that.
as well. Yes, indeed. 24 with a big hit on the front end of his machine. Owens gets his car refired. Rodriguez now backs his race car up to drive away. Big hits there off of turn 4.
And if that's race impacting for Woodard, there's not much that he can do for the rest of this race. He's just got to ride with that. Ultimately, from Woodard, I think he's still capable of top 10 here, which is more than good enough for his championship hopes. So he's going to go in with that in mind.
Explain to everybody, too, why we're seeing drivers have the difficulty with the loose sensation off of these corners. It's kind of twofold. It's partly car and partly driver. The race cars here today have a higher horsepower engine, so they are able to carry a lot more speed into the corner, but a lower spoiler, so not nearly as much downforce available to the back end of that car coming off of 2 and 4. The other thing is, too, and I'll go back, I'll do the milkshake reference here because it actually does apply in the fact that you have to be smooth on that accelerator when you're getting up off the corner. You cannot mash the throttle, otherwise you're going to deal with that wheel spin and the back end's going to want to come around. You have to ease into that throttle, kind of make sure that those tires are going to take, the grip is going to be there for you to point the nose onto the straights.
It's not just necessarily point the nose. So this is a circuit that's very similar to a lot of the road courses, and you're going to drive it very similar to the way that you would normally do the road courses as well, because you don't have as much of that banking. So it's about transitioning the weight. And what I mean by that is when you, we've all felt the inertia in an everyday car. When you jump on that accelerator and you pull away from the stop sign, the lights, you know, whatever, you feel yourself being sucked back into your seat. The car feels that transfer of weight as well. It's called inertia. Basically, the car has standing weight, and that weight does not want to move. When you apply the force to it that goes ahead, that transitions all the way to the back of the car, and the nose comes off the ground just a little bit. And as soon as you jump back on the brakes, it throws some weight back over onto the nose of the car. You know, so it's about making sure that when you're transitioning through to that acceleration zone, you don't want to do it abruptly. Couple reasons for that. The tires, they just can't take an abrupt jolt in terms of the amount of torque that's being applied to them. That's just going to make them break loose. Additionally, you want to slowly load up the tires so that they can take the grip as it's being built up as well. And at the same time, you're going to be straightening out the steering wheel so that you're not steering the car at the same time. That means there's more grip available for you to be putting onto the power at the rear end of the car. And there's a lot of different ways that that'll impact the car throughout the run as well. And under the next caution, I'll probably talk about there's a couple different ways to drive these cars that'll wear the car differently as well.
You talk about the lack of banking from the yellow line up to the outside wall at about a 12% gradient. You got 2 to 4 degrees of banking. On the back and front straightaway, that was just 1 degree. I mean, with that rapid transition from little bit of banking to absolute flat, you're basically going around a flat track for the most part.
Yeah, conveniently, flat track racing is actually what motorcycling used to be called for me as well, so I love it. Look, give me a dirt bike. Give me a dirt bike. Let me go out there. Let me turn off some laps, man. It's been so long since I've been on one.
Looks like our first driver to go to the garage area is going to be Mike Sibanovsky, so he'll finish 26th place here tonight. Kerfan, after we saw him get involved in the incident just after taking on his fast repair, has lost even more laps with extensive repairs. 8 laps down is Kerfan, so at this point he's just hoping that the remainder of this race might be a race of attrition and he can pick up some last-minute spots, some last-minute points, and preserve his space up inside of the top 5 in the point standings. I believe Joshua Billiter was the lucky dog under this caution. So 24 drivers out of the remaining 25 will be on the lead lap when we go back green.
Yeah, so Billiter is still going to make his way back on the lead lap. Billiter is back on the lead lap, you're right. Kerfan's now a long, long way down. Sibanovsky's down as well. I'm really interested to see that that Richmond didn't actually take to the racetrack. That's curious to me. I definitely... If he's in the server, why didn't he take to the racetrack? I think he's lost a lot of opportunity here tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that both he and Brock Silvati could be on the outside looking in by the time we get to Watkins Glen next week. But their teammate Aaron Brown, he's been out in front since getting the lead for Tom Bourne. He's going to be leading us back to the green flag here as we are now nearing halfway through this race. DJ Daniel going to slot to second. Battle's going to be for third. That's Lawrence on the bottom, Trey Whitehead on the top. Give the spot to Lawrence through the center of the corner.
Yeah, but watch, Whitehead's going to get a huge run coming off of this corner as well. He's going to shoot up past him, hopefully. I expect to see Whitehead dive it to the inside here.
A little bit of a shake there on the 54 of Tom Bourne. I think he might have gotten the wall off of turn 2 as he's back on the charge, trying to get back up to the front. It's going to be Trey Whitehead first on his hit list. He's got McQuaid behind him in a good battle with Brock Whitehead for 6th. The battle for the lead was on, and it's over, and it's back on again. Crossover, Brown to the inside of DJ Daniel, coming off 2. Little contact between the two onto the back straightaway. Brown's going to pull ahead.
Yeah, great job by Brown. I mean, he's really trying to drive that car as aggressively as he possibly can at this point in time. DJ Daniels, he's left this team, remember. There is always going to be beef when you leave a team. Aaron Brown will not want to hand this one over to DJ Daniels.
There's a great battle outside the top 10, or just inside the top 10, I should say. David Modespa just made his way around Corbeau. Oh, and hard into the wall goes the 23. He had it saved, it looked like for a brief moment. It overcorrected, and he nosed it into the outside safer barrier.
Remember how I said you can flick it back the other way if you save it too aggressively? That's exactly what DJ Daniels just did there.
Go back and take a look at what happened. DJ Daniel been running up inside of the top 5 all day long. Oh, teammates. Lawrence, not certain of where the breaking point was for DJ Daniel, got him from behind and sent him into the corner. That DJ Daniel, as you alluded to, with that overcorrection, getting that damage. Oh man, that's a tough pill to swallow there, and could make a very interesting team meeting for Rebel Racing.
I will have a look at Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne's just like looking like, I've got no fast repair, I've got no redo on this one. There's no mulligan left over. He has to dodge that wreck. He doesn't have any choice, and he picks correctly. Just
Lawrence.
Can I just point out what a... Yeah, go ahead, Seth. Sorry, my apologies.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I was going to say, can I just point out what a great race McQuaid's having yet again? Again, yeah. He's just sitting there. He's chilling out. He's not like... McQuaid is like the silent assassin, is probably what I'm going to start calling him from here on out. You call him Muffler Man if you will, but Muffler Man says to me that he's loud and proud and, you know, he knows what he's doing. I think he's the silent assassin. You don't hear much from him. And then all of a sudden he just pops up in 4th or 5th place, and he's attached to the lead bunch, and he's going to the front. The guy's got talent, and he's patient, and he looks after his package. He's had a couple incidences already this race, and he's back up there. Tom Bourne, another one that's done it, but Bourne's been a lot more aggressive in the way that he's driven it. So I'm really, really impressed. And I said this to him earlier tonight, I'm impressed with the way that you drive week in, week out.
Lap gain there for Alexander Kerfan with this caution coming out, so now he'll be -7, and gotta put people in mind to the Zach Woods miracle we saw back at Pocono when he was 7 laps down and came back to finish 7th on the lead lap. So if you're Kerfan, never say never, because it's happened before. You talk about McQuaid, how about another guy that's actually been consistently up here in the top 10 but under the radar? TJ Roberts. He was actually really fast in practice as well, started this race from the inside of row 2. He's been very consistent and a guy that I think deserves a little bit of love.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and teammate today, McQuaid as well. So, I mean, you know, it's been fun to watch these guys progress and improve, you know, their driving right throughout the season. I mean, Robert's not necessarily the fastest driver out there, but again, another driver that's picked up a lot of consistent finishes. And I mean, the guys from that team, you just gotta hand it to them. You gotta be really proud of the way that they drive. Like, they are exhibiting all of the best attributes that I think a driver needs to show from Get You Some Motorsports.
DJ Daniel was on pit road under the last lap, getting repairs done. Came back out, still on the lead lap, and now back down to the attention of his crew once again to get a little bit more damage repaired. Has not taken on a fast repair at this point in time as the driver of the 23. The incident we had that brought out the caution previous to this, Noah Owens took on a fast repair, Matthew Rodriguez did not. Yeah, a couple of drivers that are now starting to make their way back up as well. Talked about Tom Bourne very rapidly working his way back up to the front, but just inside and outside of the top 10, you got Josh Mayu in the 61. He's in 10th place, and Cam Caldwell. We saw him have a near spin off of turn 2 in the early stages, faded way outside of the top 15, but now he is slowly making his way back up the running order as well. Going to be restarting this in the 11th position.
Yeah, and a great job by Cam. I mean, he's won a race this season. Not a lot of, the number of drivers that have won a race this season continues to expand race by race because we can't seem to apparently get somebody in the victory lane twice this season. But hey, look, it's making it exciting for us. Yeah, Caldwell's had a reasonable run as well. I think he's made some bad luck for him. I think there's been a couple of decisions throughout the season that he'll definitely regret. And look, you take that on board and you make those adjustments. I think he's got a really good shot at getting into these playoffs with a reasonable outlook. Will he be in the Final Four? I don't think so, but I think he'll be right there on the fringes.
With most pressure coming to this race, he is 16th in the points. That cutoff line driver is the green flag back in the air. Tom Bourne wasting no time, driving it deep on Trey Whitehead for second. Lawrence will try and pick up a spot on Brock Whitehead, and the top 5 will get all single file by the time they exit out of turn number 2.
Shot in the background. Caldwell's involved in that.
Facing the wrong way down the back straightaway, oncoming traffic, out the windshield. Make that 11th caution of the day. Going to come out here at New Hampshire as Caldwell tries to get that car refired and will. Let's go back and see what happened there. This would have been just outside of the top 10 because Caldwell restarted this event in the 11th position.
I don't know what's caused that one. That's an interesting one. Because Kyle Gardner's just running his own race up on the high line. I think Caldwell thought that he would be a little bit closer to the wall, I think. And he just wasn't. So, and by and large, I'm pretty sure he's in the blind spot for Caldwell, so it's really difficult to sort of pick it up. So, yeah, it's just, assuming the driver's going to be somewhere and they're not.
It looked like the 12 got super tight there off the corner, almost like it didn't turn. It was headed straight up for the wall. And had Kyle Gardner not been there, 12 might have actually pancaked the outside wall. Another driver that got a piece of that was Matthew Rodriguez in the 57, so a 3-car incident there on the back straightaway. Let's ride on board with the 12 machine and just kind of watch the hand motion here of whether he was in the process of trying to save the race car or just got back to throttle too soon. He didn't have the car turned to the right as if the back end was stepping out. I think that might have been just a case of carrying too much speed back to the throttle sooner than probably should have, and to your point, might have been a case of thinking that he'd be maybe clear on the 49 by the time they got off the second corner.
I don't necessarily think clear, because his spotter would have said at all times that he wasn't clear. I just think that he's got like another foot, 2 feet that he can go a little bit wider, and I don't necessarily think he was going to collect the outside wall. Could have been the camera angle I was looking at, though. He may have actually been going to collect the outside wall there. But the camera angle that I was looking at, I actually think that he wasn't going to hit the outside wall, so it is what it is.
So we are now officially through this race. We hit that point about 2 laps ago. Getting into the second half of this race. Working our 11th caution, and one thing that we know, Scott, is when we start crossing the threshold into the final 50% of the race, aggressiveness starts ramping up. The driver's realizing every lap that ticks away is one step closer to that checkered flag, and they want to get as many positions as possible before we reach that point. So we might be getting closer to the push coming to shove portion of this race. But a guy that's done a good job of surviving quite a bit of it is the guy making his debut here tonight for K2B Motorsports. And let's see if we can talk with our in-race reporter, Josh Mayu, for just a brief moment here. Hey Josh, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
And a heck of a race here to make your debut in the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series, but up here in the 8th position, we've seen you up inside the top 10 pretty much all day long. Which has been most difficult, battling with the drivers or battling the racetrack?
Well, I'm glad to be here. Wasn't ready for the track. It's proven to be a little difficult for drivers, I see. Quite a bit of cautions. I think we got quite a bit of damage. We're trying to hold out for later to use that fast repair. But yeah, it's just a battle of not getting caught up in anything.
And you had pace early there as well. I mean, how are you feeling in the middle of the race now? And as we're starting to get towards the conclusion, there's been a lot of cautions back to back here, and it takes its toll on you as a driver.
Yeah, it definitely does. We're just trying to keep a calm head and be there at the end. I still got my fast repair I can use, so right now we're able to stay in the top 10, and hopefully we can improve.
All right, we're getting ready to go back green. Josh, best of luck. Good job so far.
Thanks, buddy.
Aaron Brown and Tom Bourne. Boy, we were talking about keeping an eye on Woodard and Sizemore. Well, the 95 and the 54 have exchanged a little bit of contact in this race as well, and it's going to be Aaron Brown easily getting ahead of Tom Bourne before they get into turn 1. Lawrence might move into second because he's got the preferred outside line here around 1 and 2. Bourne battles back on the bottom, though. Now the 9 gets the advantage on corner exit.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty cut and dry. I mean, he's just trying to settle the car down, get it in there. Bourne's playing long game. Bourne's not necessarily saying, I have to beat this guy immediately here. I'm just going to be patient. Just going to focus on turning that car. He got a fraction loose in the middle of the corner there, so, I mean, there is that as well.
And we got a caution. I believe Ron Gartner has gone around out of turn 4. Spun it down towards the entrance of pit road. 24 of Christopher Woodard was involved in this one as well. Jeffrey Vickery facing a little bit askew there on the front straightaway also. So at least 3 cars involved here in the 12th caution of the day.
That's we're starting to get up there in terms of what was the stream record from that Bristol race?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was something like in the realm of
28?
28, 29, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So we're getting close to halfway. We're only just past halfway in this one, and I mean it's getting to crunch time as well. Drivers, I'd be interested to see if there's an option for some of these drivers at this point in time to just start going, maybe go down pit lane, top off and fuel. Let's get ourselves a little bit deeper into the race. Fresh tires at this point in the race as well. I mean, it depends on when you last took a set of fresh tires. These tires aren't all that old, and what you're seeing from the leaders, they want to fake. They want somebody to go so that they don't have to race them, and they burn off another set of tires. That's the reason that they're throwing the fakes. None of these guys are going to be taking a pit stop at this point in time because they want to maintain themselves ahead of the chaos, especially for guys that are fast repairing the hull.
Talking about the topping off the fuel tank, though, last thing I think you want to do is put yourself back here in traffic as we see more drivers collected up in that Modespa getting a piece. Hubka in the 5 was involved, and I think also the 60 of Zachary Woods might have gotten some slight contact there to the driver's side of his Toyota Camry. So, we talked just moments ago there with Mayu, and he said, I've got the damage on this race car, but I'm trying to hold this thing out for that fast repair late. More and more drivers appear to be doing the same thing, but at some point, you can take only so many hits, and then you absolutely have to use that fast repair.
Yeah, you got to commit at some point. It may not necessarily be now. It may not necessarily be later. There is going to be a go time. You've got to pick when that time is to press go. And I agree with these drivers. I don't think it's quite yet. I think we're probably another 30 or so laps before it's going to be go time. You've got to give yourself the option to race your way back to the front and have a shot. But it's not yet.
Mike Zibanowski has returned back to the server and back to the racetrack. He'll be 24 laps down, though, in the 26th position. Alexander Kerfan gets another of his laps back here with this yellow flag, now only 5 laps down. So all 26 drivers will be back on the racetrack here for this upcoming restart, 24 on the lead lap. A big thank you to tonight's sponsor, Phillip Golf Academy, sponsoring the BackFire 150 at New Hampshire. And also a big thank you to the rest of the sponsors here for the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series, including Hubka Real Estate. Like them on Facebook at Erica Hubka Realtor. Blackgate Security, check them out on Facebook. JKR Motorsports, like them on Facebook and Instagram. Outer Ventures LLC, based in Hudsonville, Michigan, premier used car, truck, and SUV dealer with the cleanest selection and lowest prices. Visit them at avcarsales.com to learn more. And by JR's Mobile Detailing, based in Marion, North Carolina. Simply the best. Find them on Facebook and schedule your detail today. Less than 70 laps to go here at the Magic Mile. Aaron Brown out in clean air. He's been the controller of these restarts since taking the lead from Tom Bourne. Really, only 2 drivers have been out in front here today. At what point here do we see potentially pit strategy come into play? Because these drivers have had a lot of opportunities here with these caution flags to be able to come to pit road at whatever point that they want to and really not lose much in terms of track position.
You're correct, but at the same time, Seth, it's it's not yet go time. You got to be a lot more patient than these guys have been so far. I mean, opportunity is coming, but pit strategy hasn't played its way to that point just yet.
Look up here inside our top 6. 5 of these drivers have only been to pit road once, so they've still got 4 sets of Goodyears waiting in pit road for them should they want them.
Trey Whitehead just collected the outside barrier off the exit of turn 1 and 2.
We've seen Trey have a lot of issues with the inside line, getting him loose. This time it's the outside line that gets him. Tom Bourne looking to take advantage, and he will clear for 3rd place off of turn 4, heading back to the start-finish line. Behind them, Brock Whitehead under fire from Patrick McQuaid and Josh Mayo in the 61.
But be careful now. It's about being, you're still going to be patient. You're still going to be quick. Pick your battles. If you have a look back in the mid-pack, there is not a corner where there aren't cars 2, 3 wide. You know, it's about making sure that, yes, you've got to keep your eyes down the track a little bit further. You can't just be driving based upon what the car in front of you is doing. You've got to keep those eyes up, because if somebody ahead of you has to check up for an accident or something that's happening, you've got to be there.
There is that storm you're talking about. Corbeau, Sizemore, Roberts, Vickery in the mix of this. DJ Daniel just got away from it. Matthew Rodriguez in the back of this as well. Gene Cato about to fall into. Oh, someone got the wall hard there off the corner. We got a spin in the back. I believe that was Sibanovsky in the 22, but no oncoming traffic, so I don't think that'll bring out a yellow. Couldn't tell who that car was that clobbered the outside wall further back there, though, but they kept it pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult to pick out where you want to be and where you want to be when. So, I mean, settle it down. Keep picking your lines. Keep picking when you're going for it. You've got to make sure that you're allowing cars ahead of you to make mistakes as well.
Well, you saw right there, Ryan Sizemore had to take evasive action to avoid Gene Cato, who got loose off of turn 2. I mean, that's another thing. You got a car out of shape in front of you. Your instinct is to turn to the left to avoid them, but if you got the back end stepping out, then you're basically assisting that car in spinning around.
Yeah, you are. So it's, I mean, again, difficult, very, very difficult. You can't just do things the way that you want to do them, so such is life.
Corbeau battling side by side with Blue Motorsports teammate Noah Owens. Matthew Rodriguez tried to get a run to the outside and might have brushed the wall there, getting stacked up behind the 38. Further up, got a good battle going on here for 4th place on back. That's where you've got the Whitehead side by side, Trey on the bottom, Brock on the top. You've also got DJ Daniel, who's been charging through the field, Patrick McQuaid, as well as Josh Mayo.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are here in this sort of an instance that are trying to do a lot and trying to push themselves a long way forward. Got to be careful. Caution's out again.
Zachary Woods in the 60 has gone around. That's just entering into turn 2.
Oh, that's disappointing, guys. I mean, come on, settle it down. Be patient. We've had a lot of cautions of recent note. It's time to use your head. Be that little bit patient, and a lot of guys here just haven't been that.
It looked like maybe a little bit of help there from the aid of Josh Billiter, but I think Woods was out of shape before Billiter even got to his back bumper, and yeah, it was looking like we could very well have been settling ourselves into a long green flag run. Apparently, that is not going to be the case. One driver that doesn't mind that, though, that's got to be Alexander Kerfan, because it's going to be another lap that he will gain back. And actually, this angle here gives us a better idea. Actually, it might have been a little bit of help from Billiter to the back of the 60. Yeah, it definitely was. I thought the 60 from that one shot was already spinning, but nope, he got quite a bit of assistance from Billiter, bringing out the 13th caution of the day.
Ooh, splitting strategies, Seth. The 54 and everyone else back, bar the 61 machine of Mayu, come to pit road this time, and Aaron Brown opts to not come at all.
This is reminding me, I can't remember what the track was, but I remember Chase Elliott was leading the race. He stayed out and everybody else came to pit road. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting for Aaron Brown, who has 55-lap-old tires underneath him and everybody else behind. At least for the latter half of the top 10, looks like are going to be on fresh tires. So, getting caught out there was the race leader. He's going to have a little bit of, he'll have a buffer. Josh Mayer, Jeffrey Vickery, Christopher Woodard, and Ron Gartner, all on somewhat older tires, are going to be out there with him. But to your point, 6th place, Tom Bourne on back. They're going to have the fresh rubber. And this is the thing, too, that we've seen a lot this season is with those mixing the varying strategies, those guys in the fresh tires, they want to go. But we've seen how difficult it really is to pass here at New Hampshire, so these guys have to really maneuver their way carefully past these drivers with the older Goodyears.
And there's a lot of cars in this mix as well that are quite heavily damaged. So they've got to be careful about all of that as well. It's not just as simple as, okay, sweet, we've got fresh tires, we're going to go. You've got to make sure that you arrive at the car at the right time. You get to the right side to make the overtake. You position the car in the correct piece of the track, and everything goes your way.
What about the muscle memory too? Because, most of those guys, as I mentioned, they've just now made their second pit stop of the day. They ran about 55 laps there on that set of tires, so they'd be getting used to what the car feels like on the older Goodyears. Now they're going to be heading down into 1 and 2 with the fresh tires. There may be a difference of grip, a difference of when to get back to the throttle. Is it going to be a relearning process for those guys?
Potentially. I mean, it's not cut and dry. It's not as simple as you may think. I mean, ultimately they're gonna have a lot more grip underneath them, but it's gonna take a couple of laps for that grip to really start showing itself. So yeah, look, I mean, there's you can say at the end of the day, yeah, look, they've got a difficult situation. They need to do this, they need to do that, but first and foremost, they're gonna get through these next couple of laps, and they've got cars ahead of them that are damaged and they need to make moves on.
Less than 60 laps to go. Lights out top the pace car, so we'll go back green flag racing on lap 95. Mentioned Kerfan, the free pass, now only 4 laps down to the race leaders, still in that 25th position. As it'll be Aaron Brown, the race leader. He chooses the top. Josh Mayer, who's still holding out that faster pair. He's got 29 lap old tires to the inside in second place. Jeffrey Vickery lines up in third spot. He is on 12 lap old tires. Chris Woodard in fourth is on 11 lap old tires. And Ron Gartner has 13 lap old Goodyears underneath his Chevrolet. He will be fifth. Then it's Tom Bourne, Trey Whitehead, Brock Whitehead, DJ Daniel, and Noah Owens. That remainder of the top 10 all on fresh Goodyears for this upcoming restart.
Keep your eyes. The guy that I'm keeping my eyes on is probably McQuaid on back. I feel like McQuaid's got a really good opportunity here, and he's made some good decisions so far tonight.
Control car is going to be the 95 of Aaron Brown. He gets up through the gears, tries to leave the rest of the competition in the dust. Tom Bourne on that top side got a decent jump. He got to the back bumper of Woodard, tries to cut down in front of Ron Gartner. He's the lead driver on the fresh Goodyears, as now Ron Gartner off the nose of DJ Daniel there on the apron of 1 and 2. Maybe no caution, as I think that was out of harm's way.
Yeah, it was. We stay green. We stay green.
Now it's going to be for third place. Tom Bourne to the inside of Jeffrey Vickery. He should make this pass by time to get out of turn 4. 2 more cars to get. That's Josh Mayo in the 61. Aaron Brown in the race leading the 95. And back to where you were talking about DJ Daniel, Trey Whitehead, as well as the 31 of Brock Whitehead mixing it up. These are the guys that are second, third, and fourth on the fresh tires.
Yeah, some really good opportunities for a lot of the guys right throughout the field right now. I mean, you got to push for it. You got to be aggressive, but you've also got to be patient at the same time. You can't just immediately step on it and expect to be given the time and the space that you need to get everything done.
A movement there off of turn 2. I think I just saw somebody pound the outside wall. That might have been Ron Gardner in the 39 again. As DJ Daniel going to clear into the 5th position. Brock Whitehead trying to hold off Trey Whitehead. That'd be for 7th, and there's the 9 of Christopher Lawrence, the 77 of Patrick McQuaid there as well, 9th and 10th position, as up at the front, less than half a second separating Aaron Brown from Tom Bourne, and it's no contest in terms of who's got the better grip.
Yeah, no contest at all. I mean, it's taking massive chunks at Aaron Brown. Aaron Brown got the restart. Aaron Brown got the ability to get that car fired and get that car out of the way. Let's see if he can pull it off.
So DJ Daniel have to check up there as he tried to go to the inside of Vickery. Might have been a block thrown there, forced him to go to the top, and he nearly rode the wall through the first couple of corners. Now he'll dive to the inside on the 96. All that time was able to keep the Whiteheads in his rearview mirror.
You've got to be careful, though. I mean, the Whiteheads, we talked about it, they like to be aggressive, and all power to them. They generally, by and large, do a good job of being aggressive. Vickery is struggling. Vickery's not had the cleanest night that he wants. And the other car to keep your eyes on as well is Lawrence. Lawrence is all of a sudden starting to lag back. But Lawrence and the Whiteheads have had a great battle going on the whole night long.
It's now less than a car length. It's now side by side. Tom Bourne looking for the race lead back from Aaron Brown. The two of them made contact earlier on, which put Tom Bourne back in traffic. Now Tom Bourne looking for a little redemption, closing in on 50 laps to go. Put the 54 Toyota back out in clean air.
Yeah, and that's what he needed to do. He picked the right caution to go for it, and I mean, when most of the field come down alongside of him, that's exactly, he's done everything he needs to do from here as Tom Bourne.
Jay Daniel just turned the fastest lap that time around as he got around Josh Mayu, so slot him up to third place. Mayu now under fire from the 31 of Brock Whitehead. Little smoke lingering there off of turn 4. Not certain where that was from, but we still stay under the green flag regardless. We did have a driver just come down pit road moments ago and make the left-hand turn to pit lane and into the garage area. That is Cam Caldwell, who, remember, coming into this race was the 16th driver in points, the bubble line driver. So he's going to be behind the cut line when we leave here today and head north to Watkins Glen.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, and going into a road course, I mean, you know, going into a road course, I sit here, I'm happy. I really want to head into that road course and have an opportunity. So, but anyway, such is life.
Matthew Rodriguez now looking for a spot on Patrick McQuaid. He just got around the 33 of Trey Whitehead. I almost wonder if Whitehead might have used up quite a bit of his stuff there, because he's lost about 3-4 positions since we last saw him battling with DJ Daniel. He is continuing to free fall through the field.
Be careful here. Got to make sure, again, it's still patience, right? You're free falling through the field. Got to look after those tires. We're under 50 laps to go now, but that doesn't mean that we're necessarily within the closing stages of this race yet. It's still 50 laps or so to go.
Lawrence now battling with Brock Whitehead for 5th place. Woo, Rodriguez getting loose there off the corner. That opens the door for Trey Whitehead to get to his outside, but you've got 31, the 9, the 77, all nose to tail. This is for the final spot inside of the top 5 as Tom Bourne starting to pull away from Aaron Brown, now half a second, and continuing to grow between those two.
Will continue to grow, but I'm really, really surprised. Brown has been able to look after his tires quite aggressively here. DJ Daniels is coming, but it's not at the rate of knots that you might have thought that he might do.
Oh man, great save there by Trey Whitehead off of turn 2 as that thing was flat sideways. He's going to drop back to the 10th position though as a result. You saw the slower car of Ron Gartner, the leader's getting around him. That is not what Alexander Kerfan wants to see, because now Gartner is 2 laps down. He would be the recipient of the next 2 lucky dogs should no other driver fall off the lead lap.
Yeah, but it's not quite as cut and dry as that. I mean, you've got to give yourself the opportunity. If you get caught up in that wreck, I mean, the lucky dog's still going to go to whoever's available to take it. So it's not just as simple as that, Seth. So settle in here a little bit.
Talk about Aaron Brown preserving his tires. Good job as well for Josh Mayu preserving his tires, because so far, Brock Whitehead has not been able to get around that 61 machine. He's got Lawrence hounding him for 5th place. McQuaid now under fire as Rodriguez drives it deep into turn 1. Not quite going to be able to get to the left rear quarter panel, and Noah Owens looks on there as well in that Ford Mustang.
To be nice and careful in that mid-pack. We've now had a reasonable green flag run. Everyone's, for the first time tonight, starting to feel the effects of that long one-run green flag tire wear. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Guys are going to settle themselves in, give themselves that opportunity.
Wade now going to get the inside. Oh, wow, Rodriguez kind of got boxed in behind the 61 of Mayu. Noah Owens taking advantage. He's going to try and slip by the 57 for the 8th position. And again, big save by Trey Whitehead there off of turn 2. That's the second time he's had to save that thing in the last 5 laps off the second corner.
Yeah, he's going to be careful now because he's starting to overheat the tires. If he's not careful, he's going to just cook those things, and he is going to be the cause of the next caution.
Is there any way to cool those tires down? I mean, we know this track has very little banking. It's very abrasive. What are some of the methods that 33 can imply in these next couple of laps to get those temperatures down?
First and foremost, you've just got to underdrive the car as much as you possibly can. Be slow. Be slow for 3 to 4 laps. You don't have any other thing that you can really do.
Oh, contact, and I kind of saw that coming. Brock Whitehead and Christopher Lawrence getting together. You saw it there when Lawrence put the bumper to the 31. sent him up the track, and Whitehead was not happy. He pinched the 9 car down, and Lawrence is going to bring out the 14th caution of the day.
That is unfortunate because we had a really good run going on there, and the drivers, you could just see there was a little bit of impatience that was just starting to build just slightly, and some of the drivers that wanted to get on by, they wanted to get things going, but look, it is what it is. I mean, we had a green flag run at least. That's better than what we had before.
I understand the frustration for Brock Whitehead, but the 9 never wrecked him. He never spun him. New Hampshire's one of those tracks where if you're faster, you might have to move that driver out of the way, and in all honesty, that's a clean move out of the way move there by the 9 car, but obviously Brock Whitehead seeing it differently, and he wasn't going to take that. It's the passenger side door of the 9 and loops Christopher Lawrence around, so what's that bring us up to? At least 3 rivalries now we got to keep an eye on here in the final 40 laps of this race?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, you know, how many have we seen? I don't think enough yet.
Boy, another near miss there for Patrick McQuaid, and no surprise, Aaron Brown in the 95 hitting pit lane this time. So, with him getting caught out under that last caution, it looked like it was going to be a bit of trouble for him. Now that he's coming down and going to have some fresher tires than some of the other guys that are either ahead or behind him, does this now play the race back into the favor of Aaron Brown?
I mean, potentially, not necessarily. I mean, the thing for Aaron Brown here is he's going to be starting towards the tail end of this lead pack. A lot of the drivers, though, have now saved enough tires that they can afford to come back down here. I don't think a lot of them are choosing to do so yet again, because just purely due to the fact that a lot of the drivers are in a position whereby, you know, they can maintain that track position. Some of the drivers are coming down because they want to. They want to have the ability to make moves. They want to move themselves forward here. And there's opportunities in both directions.
DJ Daniel at 23 on pit road. It was a gas and go for him, as he's going to be coming out and restarting in the 7th position. Aaron Brown going to be restarting in 6th as 5 drivers stayed out, and now will only be 3 drivers as teammates Zachary Woods and Gene Cato are hitting pit lane here under the 2nd lap of caution. Tom Bourne, Chris Woodard, and Clifford Corbeau look like they are officially going to be the 3 drivers that will not pit under this caution period. We're going to be getting ready to go back green flag racing momentarily. We're going to be in the vicinity of 35 laps to go, working our 14th caution of the day here in the BackFire 150 presented by Phillips Golf Academy. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back here for the conclusion of today's race here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You won't miss a thing, as we're going to go FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
Doubled up, ready to go back green. Tom Bourne going to be leading us back to the green flag, looking to go coast to coast. If you had to look at a graph of Tom Bourne's day, it would kind of look a little bit like a valley as he started up at the front, faded back outside of the top 20, and has been able to march his way back up to the point yet again. He's going to lead us back here to the green flag. You saw Aaron Brown, the 95, trying to go topside 3 wide. Woodard, he's going to make it work, but DJ Daniel there to pounce as well. He goes up the middle. Those two almost making some contact through 1 and 2.
And you got to remember, there's bad blood in the water between Daniels and Aaron Brown. They don't like each other. Those drivers really would prefer to stay as far away from each other on the racing surface as possible. Unfortunately, they're about the same pace, so that generally sticks them together on track. Would not surprise it to see contact of some sort between those two drivers.
Great save for Matthew Rodriguez down the back straightaway, as now the battle will be for 4th place. That's Patrick McQuaid. He's to the inside of Clifford Corvo. Behind them, you've got the 61 of Josh Mayu, who's still hanging on to that faster pair and still competitive up here in 6th place. Oh, got a slooper. That's the 61. Caution's out.
Seth, why did you have to say his name? Look what you've done to the man.
I guess it's time to take the faster pair, huh?
Alternatively, you pulled that crystal ball out, I think, again. You were like, Josh Mayer's having a great race. No, he's not. Never mind. My mistake.
I thought that I put it away in the trunk, padlocked the trunk, and padlocked the padlock, but apparently somehow it found its way out.
Yeah. Is that crystal ball got a mind of its own? Is it?
It
just rolls itself out of the trunk every week. It's like, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to commentate.
Kind of like Harry Potter or something. It's kind of creepy. Anyway. There you see the 61 getting refired. He will stay on the lead lap. Couple of things that took place there during our commercial break, though, that we have to document. 2 drivers now out of the race. We saw the contact between Brock Whitehead and Christopher Lawrence, and we understand that Whitehead has been disqualified, so he is going to be finishing at least in the 24th position here tonight.
Interesting. I'm going to refrain on comment on that one. I can't make an educated guess at what's going on there, so there's no reason. We need to refer that one back to the admins and chat to them about that one.
Well, with this yellow flag coming out, I do believe Ron Gartner is going to be the recipient of the free pass. Both he and Kyle Gartner were 1 lap down when we just took that most recent green flag. This will put Ron back on the lead lap. Kyle will still be 1 lap down. Now Alexander Kerfan still -4 in the 23rd position.
He's trapped. He was making his way back. He got half of his laps back, and now he's trapped. That's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Having said that, have you seen the iBorn pacing car?
I have noticed that. I never knew that iRacing's pace car was sponsored by G Fuel, but I'm realizing this now.
It also drives as the number 54. Having said that, the pace car at this point would actually be ahead of Cam Caldwell, I think. It's done enough laps today.
You know, that's actually true. I think you would be correct in that. Actually, I think the pace car has led the most laps today. It's kind of been a split between Tom Bourne and Aaron Brown and the time spent out in front, but I think you're right. I think the pace car has led the most laps here today, so give Brett Bodine a bonus point there for most laps led here at New Hampshire.
I was going to say, throw a shout out to, and I've just forgotten his name. I had his name like 2 seconds ago, from Formula 1 on the weekend. Most laps led, pace car.
Now, we are working our 15th caution of the day. A lot of drivers we knew were going to have difficulty with this racetrack, with the issues of corner exit, the car snapping out from underneath them. But if you look at the numbers right now of those that are still out there and still running, 24 cars of the 26 that started this race still underpowered. We've got 21 of them back on the lead lap now with the addition of Ron Gartner. Yes, there have been some bumps in the road. Yes, these drivers have had to deal with the difficult track conditions, but credit to all of them for the most part for soldiering on, and a lot of them, just because of that, might be in line for some really good finishes at the close.
Yeah, and remember what I was saying at the start of the show about looking after your car today? I mean, there's a lot of cars now that are underpowered. When you have this number of cautions, eventually one's just going to come with your name on it. I mean, you can even say that Aaron Brown and Tom Bourne from out in front have both had cautions with their names on them. I do want to shout out to all the drivers, though, for the skill. Like, it's not easy at circuits like this to dodge wrecks, but by and large, wrecks have been dodged by the bulk of the field. There's always going to be an additional 1 or 2 cars that get caught up in any accident, but by and large, they've kept it to that.
You got to wonder, too. You know, there's a lot of drivers that really like the road courses on the schedule. There's other drivers that dread it. I mean, how important is it to leave New Hampshire with a good finish, knowing that Watkins Glen looms on the horizon?
Well, I mean, Watkins, it's difficult because there's a different set of skills, as Tom Bourne will get us back up through the gears here in a moment. Once again, controlling that restart.
Yeah, what,
DJ
3-4
Daniels has got a shot
Carlin.
here.
He drives it deep into the center of 1 and 2, drifts up in front of Aaron Brown, who now is going to cross him over. And yeah, not surprised to see DJ Daniel aggressive here, because on the last couple of restarts, at least the last couple of first laps of those restarts, DJ Daniel has been a little bit faster than Tom Bourne.
I mean, at this stage, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bourne has got the older tires here, so this is old tires versus new tires versus new tires. All the other guys that are now on those older tires are way back further in the pack. So Bourne's just, and he knows that he's going to have to see this position at some point. It's about holding them off as long as they can.
Man, that was close off of 2
Still
there.
is.
The right front of DJ Daniel, the left rear of Aaron Brown, as he tries to throw it to the inside of Tom Bourne. Back to your point, though, a DJ Daniel, Tom Bourne, same lap number on their tires, because Daniel only took fuel when he came to pit road. And the caution's out. Josh Mayo in the 61, Gene Cato in the 2.
Did Mayu take his fast repair before that?
Actually, I think the 61 just ducked onto pit road prior to that caution coming out. I don't think he was involved in the incident at all. I think it was just Gene Cato.
Spin potentially for Gene Cato? May have been a penalty for Josh Mayo, where he had to come back down and serve it a stop and hold. Which, if that's the case, that is a huge slice of luck for Mayo, because he won't lose a lap serving that penalty.
Big break for him. I believe it was Chris Hubka who was behind Gene Cato. We'll look from his point of view, but I think it was just a solo car spin.
Yeah.
For the 2 of Gene Cato. Oh, you just saw that he threw it into turn 3. That thing drifted up and just never found any grip by the time he got to the center of the corner.
Yeah, and it's difficult because the rear of the car, and what's happened there is the rear of the car is trying to rotate, and then the front of the car can't rotate because it's moving too quickly, and that's what causes those slow spins like that.
Tom Bourne coming to pit road. Going to be all the way back in the 19th position for this upcoming restart, but we saw how much of a fight Aaron Brown was able to take to both Bourne and DJ Daniel. This is some interesting strategy, because this puts him way back in traffic here, closing in on 25 laps to go.
It does, but the thing is, he can't hang on to that fresh set of tires. You can see how down he was. Now, with 25 laps to go, you've talked about this multiple weeks, is that all of a sudden the threshold, everyone wants to step their races up because everyone all of a sudden has an opportunity. There's a chance out there. There's blood in the water, if you will. So a lot of these guys have all of a sudden they've got an opportunity to go to the front and they want to use it.
That's going to put DJ Daniel as the race leader. When we go back green, Aaron Brown will be second. Third, Patrick McQuaid. Fourth, Noah Owens. And fifth, Trey Whitehead. I asked you the question before we even took the green flag about, is track position important? Well, right now, if you look at our top 8, only 3 of them started this race inside of the top 10. 3 of them started this race outside of the top 20. So it has been a varying amount of strategies for drivers and a varying amount of luck and skill getting through wrecks for drivers as well that are all up here inside of the top 10 now.
Yeah. A lot of drivers are working as hard as they possibly can to give themselves the best opportunity. And like I said at the start of the race, it was about looking after the car. It's no longer about that. It's now about every place that you can gain here is a big haul of points. Tom Bourne's on fresher tires, so he's going to have a very well-performing car. And admittedly, the tire differential between him and the cars ahead, yeah, it's there, but it's not a major issue. It's not as much as you potentially think it's going to be. So look, I mean, everyone's got an opportunity here, but everyone's got to use their head and use that patience.
Talked about Cam Caldwell out of the race, Brock Silvati not in the field. Who would be some of the drivers to capitalize and maybe make an appearance up inside the top 16 head into Watkins Glen? 2 drivers that come into this race 25 points behind the cut line, having pretty decent days. Noah Owens on the outside of row 2 in that 4th position, and David Modespa back in the 15th spot but still on the lead lap. Both of those drivers were in that 4-way tie for 18th place, 25 points behind the cut line. If they can leave here today, either one of them maybe with a top 5 performance, we could see them as the bubble driver when we get to the road course next week at Watkins Glen. But we still got to get this one finished up. DJ Daniel, for the first time today, going to be leading us back to the green flag. Can he lead the rest of the way? Aaron Brown, who's already had a taste of the lead, can he get back to the front? Or what about Patrick McQuaid there in the 77? Can he get up to the front as Daniel gone before they get to turn 1?
Yeah, completely and utterly gone, but he's got to go. He's got to get that large margin out there. Lawrence is getting aggressive in the mid-pack as well. Nearly got to the inside of the 38.
Not much in it in terms of the amount of laps put on the tires for the 23 and the 95, maybe about 2 or 3 laps, but definitely a track as abrasive as New Hampshire. That can make a difference as we see Brown. He is really good from the center of the corner off, pulls right up to the back bumper of the 23 off of 4, and takes a look to the inside going into 1.
Higher quality sets, higher quality is what you're going to be thinking in the back of your mind. These guys now have got so much different going on in their tires, and Matt Rodriguez into the fence.
3 wide now with himself, Robert. Oh, we got a car in trouble! That was Aaron Brown and DJ Daniel!
And DJ
the
Daniels.
leader's wrecked right in front of the field! Another car up and over, Ron Gartner. Ryan Sizemore's collected. Rodriguez is involved. Gene Cato is involved. Major collisions here, miring up the back straightaway.
And that is a lot of cars that are extremely banged up. Seth, give me the list of drivers that still have their fast repair available to them. I'm hoping, against all hope, that Aaron Brown and DJ Daniels are on that list because there are a lot of heavy shots to those cars.
Try and see if I can fill you in on that. Aaron Brown does have the fast repair still available. DJ Daniel in the 23, he also has a fast repair available.
Okay.
As far as the other drivers involved, I'll have to get to you with, on those in just a moment here because we got to go back and see what happened. That was actually off camera for us because I thought that battle for the lead had gotten settled out, but apparently that was not the case.
I'm just having a look at it, and DJ Daniels is actually very loose coming off of the corner. I wonder if that's not the second time tonight he's had a shot going into turn number 1. No, it's just all on his own. So Aaron Brown gets to his inside, he starts to get down there, and what he does do is I believe he's not close enough to be forcing air off, because that was the thing, and DJ Daniels just gets aggressive on the throttle. It's a driving error, and unfortunately Aaron Brown just gets collected, but nearly the whole field piles into that one. Chris Woodard gets a heavy shot to the front end of that car, so he's going to be down on power for the rest of the night. Matt Rodriguez is involved in it. Both of the Whiteheads, I think, down at the inside fence. Patrick McQuaid, please tell me that car's okay.
Well, he got shot down to the inside, that's for sure. We're actually going to go on board with him. He got hit from behind by the guy who is actually our new race leader, the 88 of Noah Owens. Let's see what McQuaid saw as he was running in the 3rd position. Got a clear view of DJ Daniel getting loose and down towards the guardrail. A little bit of contact there with the front end, but fortunately, I guess the saving grace was it was the steel guardrail that he made the contact with and not the tire barrier just a couple feet further down.
Well, the tire barrier is actually on iRacing set. They're actually a lot. They reduce the impact of the front end of the car and the damage that you'll suffer. So that's, I mean, the benefit is he didn't impact either of them head on, which would have been just well, I mean, he does impact the guardrail head on, but it's not like he hasn't caught the edge of the tire barrier because that's where the most damage would have been caused. It's difficult right the way around, but I think that's a damaged car, and I think that's the last you'll see of Patrick McQuaid towards the front tonight, to be honest with you.
And a wild ride there. Normally you don't hear the word flip at New Hampshire, but Ron Gartner, who was right in the middle of all that, he saw that car ascend and landed back on its roof. His day is more than likely over. A wild ride for him there on the back straightaway. And boy, again, going to try and go down the list of these drivers, see who has a fast repair available, who does not. Ryan Sizemore, I think he didn't have a fast repair still left. He just finished up his service on pit lane, but a long time spent there. Jeffrey Vickery, same can be said for him. In just a moment, I'll try and update all the drivers that have now used the fast repair and those that still have a fast repair left. We've still got about 20 laps left still to run as Noah Owens comes around to put lap 131 on the board.
Yeah, there is a long period that's still left over in this race as well. So this isn't just as simple and cut and dry as this is it, it's done. And now we've got a field of... right now, we've got to get ourselves another 5 or 10 laps before we can actually sort of settle back into this race, because the damaged cars are going to be there in spades now.
There's that saying that sometimes you got to create your opportunities, sometimes the opportunities fall in place for you. How about the 9 of Christopher Lawrence? We saw him up here inside of the top 5 pretty much the entirety of the first half. Had that contact with Brock Whitehead, which drifted him back, but now he's up here on the outside of the front row. We know from earlier on today that that car has got the speed to be up at the front. We'll see what he's able to do here, as he's got some pretty good starting track position over some of the other guys that have spent most of the day up at the front.
There's a lot of cars out here now that have got opportunities. I mean, you know, a lot of cars are now towards the front end, and Tom Bourne, I think, has still got a clean race car. I think he got through that without any impact, and a lot of drivers are now down on power.
Oh, and we got a big wreck. Oh, Billiter up and hard into the wall there on the front straightaway.
Talked about cars that were in the air and cars that were flipping, and it's the second time in a row at New Hampshire.
Couldn't tell who it was that hooked him, but man, that thing just went straight into the outside wall. Hard impact there. Patrick McQuaid got a piece of that. Hubka was involved. And it's even worse having a wreck on the front straightaway, because you end up having that wall separating the track from pit road, and the escape routes are kind of few and far between.
There is a couple things that are involved with a wreck in that section of the track as well. First and foremost of them is the fact that, look, you got guys, like we said, coming back to this restart, I mean, there was a lot of guys here that were like, oh, you know, we've got a damaged race car, we've got to get out of the way of everybody else. Everyone was trying to dive out of the way of everyone and trying to provide space, but you still cannot overtake except to cars outside on restarts. So these guys are trying to get out of each other's way, but what they end up doing is checking up the whole field. And ultimately, I think it's just a lot of poor decisions from just about everyone that was involved. You can't put it down to any single driver, I don't think, in that instance. So.
Well, if we're looking here, the 35 of Wesley Fuller, he was way, way back off of the bumper of Clifford Corbeau. Watch the third car on the inside line. You've got Woodard right behind him, and I believe Billiter was ready to go when the leader accelerated. He got to the inside of Woodard. You see him slam on the brakes because he cannot pass the 24 before the start-finish line, or else he would get penalized, and he just gets that little bit of contact to himself, and DJ Daniel sends him up into the wall. So whole combination there of different drivers just stacking the field up there for that restart.
Yeah, it's difficult because everyone really wants to be able to get back onto their aggressive foot, and they want to be putting their best foot forwards, but you've got to be patient with a restart after a major accident like that, and again, it's just a lot of drivers not necessarily doing that, so it is what it is.
18th caution of the day here, Noah Owens, still the race leader. The timing of that yellow flag keeps him out in the top position, as Alexander Kerfan is actually going to be the recipient of the free pass. The reason being that the two cars ahead of him that are off the lead lap, Joshua Billiter and Ron Gartner, were both collected up in that incident. So Kerfan, being the driver that was not involved in the incident, first car one lap down, he will now be -3 to the race leader. And it's really starting to pile up now with the drivers with faster pairs. Centered into that point now where, as I said, it's easier to name off the drivers that still have their faster pair intact than the drivers that have used there. Christopher Lawrence in second place is the highest running still with a faster pair available. Gene Cato in the 2 is running in 12th. He still has a faster pair. And then two more drivers, Josh Mayo and Wesley Fuller, in the 14th and 15th position. That's it. Those four drivers are the only ones here in the final stage of this race that have that mulligan in their hip pocket should they need it, but I guarantee you they don't want to have to use it.
At this point in time, you have to use it. I think, we're 16 laps from home. It's a completely and utterly different situation now than it was before. So the guys that haven't used their faster pair up until now, I think if you've got damage now, you've got to burn it. You've got to come down, you've got to take it, because you need to start to work your way back towards the front, and it's too late in the race, and I think we're about to run out of cautions here.
How about David Modespaw now going to be restarting in the 4th position? Mentioned that he and Noah Owens would be the two drivers that could capitalize here tonight, move their way up into the top 16. Well, here they are, front and center with Owens the race leader, and just kitty corner to him at one of David Modespaw, so we'll see what they're able to do. And interesting thing too, if you look back to last week at Charlotte, it was a Sizemore Motorsports 1-2 finish. Well, Noah Owens and Clifford Corbeau, who were formerly drivers out of Sizemore Motorsports, then went and created their own team, went to Ford Mustangs at Blue Motorsports. Well, right now, they are first and second on the inside line. Could we be looking at 1-2 finishes for teams in back-to-back weeks?
I mean, potentially, there's nothing saying that we're not going to be seeing those things in back-to-back weeks as well. I mean, again, drivers have got a lot of opportunity, a lot of responsibility here, though. So ultimately, let's get through the next 5 or 10 laps before we start saying anything about anyone.
Well, Owens going to lead them through 1 and 2. Lawrence runs slightly higher. Watch for him to get a good run here out of turn 2. Ooh, Owens almost left the door open there, and Lawrence going to cross him on. 3 wide with Tom Bourne there. He puts Corvo in the middle, who bails out. Modespa way up the track, and Owens is under fire. May lose the lead here off of 4. Tight as now Modespa spins it out there off of turn 4. Another wreck on the front straightaway, but we did not have nearly the calamity we saw on the last turn off of 4, because I think the 1 had a little bit of assistance from the wall and kept that pointed. Nobody else really made any contact with him.
Yeah, it's a really good job by a lot of the drivers there as well. I mean, everyone's trying to buy their way to the end of this race. Everyone's trying to be aggressive. Everyone's trying to, create their own space, create this, create that, look for an opportunity, and, it's opportunity time. And the other thing to consider is you've got drivers that are out of position at this point in time. Their pace necessarily isn't up towards the front. You've got drivers that haven't driven around each other at all during the night. It's very easy to think about what a driver ahead of you is going to do when you know exactly what that driver is going to do. You've been following that driver. You've been ahead of that driver. You've been around that driver all night. You get to the tail end of this race, there's 30 laps to go, under 30 laps to go now. We're down to 12 to go at this point in time, and you're now racing a driver that you have not seen for the entire race. That's a completely different scenario, and you cannot predict what that driver is going to do. And I think a lot of what's happening now is just drivers a little bit in over their head, a couple of drivers that don't know what the drivers around them are going to do, where they're going to drive, where they're going to position the car, and you got to use patience. You 100% have to use patience in these instances.
Billiter, who we saw go up into the air there on the front straightaway just moments ago, he gets the free pass, so there'll be 21 drivers on the lead lap when we get ready for the upcoming restart, which is going to be either with or just under 10 laps to go. Talked about if you got the faster pair still, use it. Well, our in-race reporter Josh Mayu just came down and took that final faster pair on for him. That leaves us with 3 drivers that still have the faster pair intact. Tom Bourne, with that move there 3 wide, I mean, that obviously shows that he knows that the laps are ticking down. It is go time for him, and so keep an eye on him for this upcoming restart, as he's going to be on the inside of row number 2. I wouldn't put it past him to maybe now try and force that issue 3 wide if the door is left open when we get down to turn 1.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity there, but I think Bourne's got to be patient now. He's got to breathe. He's got to make sure that he puts the car in the right spots, and he's definitely shown that he's one of the quickest cars tonight. Now it's about showing when to pull that move, because he's right up at the pointy end. He's got a clean car. He's one of the very few cars up here with an opportunity. Now this is the point in time where you definitely want to use patience. You know you're going to win this race. It's only a matter of waiting for the drivers ahead to make that mistake and positioning your car correctly when that comes.
Wondering about that 33 of Trey Whitehead as well. Granted, we didn't have a multi-car collision and a bunch of torn up race cars when Modespa had its moment off turn 4, but there was contact to the right rear quarter panel of the 33 and also some contact on the right front of the 38 of Clifford Corvo. So you got to wonder, those 2 drivers who have used their faster pairs, how that damage is going to affect them for the remainder of this race. Lights out atop the pace car, so it will officially be with 10 laps to go that we will get ready to get these drivers back under the green flag. A couple of drivers that had some issues just a couple of cautions ago and have done a good job of bouncing back from them. Aaron Brown, saw him have that contact between himself and DJ Daniel while battling for the race lead, and Aaron is now back up to the 8th position.
Yeah, and he's going to try. His target now is Tom Bourne. He wants to get back up to him. He knows that he's been racing that guy very, very hard throughout the entire race. So, look, there's an opportunity here for him to, again, get to Bourne, get to him, race him out for the victory. I definitely think there's 2 cars tonight that have dominated. It's been those 2. DJ Daniels has been there and about. Christopher Lawrence has shown a big turn of speed. That I knew Lawrence was fast. I knew he had something in reserve, but I didn't think it was this far up. I didn't think that he necessarily had this much pace, and he's impressed me tonight. And the Whiteheads as well, once again, they've been quick, they've been there. It's just about turning that corner a little bit.
Well, lot of the drivers up at the front look pretty good as Noah Owens gets us back under the green, and Christopher Lawrence timed that restart perfectly. I think that actually Owens led them back there to the line, and so Lawrence did not pass him before the start-finish line. He's going to swing around for the race lead. Now, if you're the 9, you also are keeping 9. The 54 is Trey Whitehead with a great save, a little bit of assistance there from the 54 of Tom Bourne, but if you're Lawrence, now it's the 54 you got to worry about as well.
Yeah, it is. 100% it is. And I mean, it's not just as simple as, sit down, take your beats, do whatever you need to do to get through. It's not that simple. These guys want to win a race. It is race time. We are race fans, and we want to see these guys race it hard as the 11 of TJ Roberts was sideways entering one.
Keeps it together, though, as he's in that 5th position, trying to hold off Trey Whitehead for 4th. Lawrence going to go around the outside of Noah Owens, who tried, we saw there, to make a move into turns 1 and 2, back on Christopher Lawrence. Bourne with that outside advantage, though, going to get the power down, and he might be able to pull off the pass before they get to turn 1. Nope, Owens is still going to be there to the left rear quarter panel. And just behind them, Aaron Brown looking on in the 95.
Yeah, it's the Brown now. Brown's just sitting here and he's watching these guys as Owen gets it all out of shape, and Brown has to check it up.
Boy, that was 2 saves right there, and fortunately they had enough space to be able to gather it back up. Owens and Brown now side by side for the 3rd spot. Owens, he's losing it. Can he hang on? Tremendous save, trying to pull out of everybody's way. Gardner up the middle. Fuller was on the top side. That was a heart-stopping moment.
It was a heart-stopping moment for half the field there, and Owens has overheated those tires now. He's going to underdrive this car for the next 5 laps and give himself an opportunity to get back into this thing.
Christopher Lawrence now has about a little less than half a second. Back to Tom Bourne. Bourne about 2.5 car lengths back to Brown. Caution is out. It's David Modespaw on the back straightaway. More late race dramatics here as we're going to have a shootout to finish out this race, potentially if we don't go into overtime.
Yeah, I'm expecting not to go into... Well... I think we're not going to go into overtime. I'm not 100% sure. It'll be right on the fringes of overtime. I think we'll probably have it's going to be either 2 to go in regulation, or it's going to be 3 to go in regulation here. So, look, and have a look at TJ Roberts. That guy, again, a driver that's not necessarily been fast so far tonight, but he's kept his car clean, and now look at the opportunities that he's opened himself up. Noah Owens, this is a big break for him. He had a very dirty car, things weren't going his way, he was in a really bad sort of moment there, and he's actually going to bring it to pit road, I think. I was hoping he might bring it to pit road, because if he can come down and grab some fresh tires, but then again, we need to go into overtime for him to actually make that strategy work, so he would need a couple of green-white checkers here.
Only a handful of drivers coming down pit lane. Clifford Corveau, the highest running to hit pit road, along with Matthew Rodriguez, David Modespaw, who brought out the caution, and the 8 of Joshua Billiter. This will put Jeffrey Vickery back on the lead lap in the 96. I think actually Vickery might have been hit with a penalty at the drop of that most recent green flag, had to serve it, lost the lap as a result. There you see him coming around the top side to get that lap back, so 21 drivers will still be on the lead lap when we get back underway, but oh boy, now you've got Lawrence the leader, Bourne in 2nd, Aaron Brown in 3rd, and had we not had that caution come out, it was going to be very interesting to see how these 3 mix it up. Now you're going to throw a blanket over all 3 of them for this upcoming restart.
And don't just automatically think this is going to be easy for these guys to get past Christopher Lawrence here, because Christopher Lawrence has been just as quick as these guys throughout the consistency of the race. Over a long run, I definitely think that they've had it over Chris Lawrence, but that's been about it. They haven't really been able to make any further benefits other than that. So it's been, it's not as simple as just saying, oh yeah, the best driver is this guy 100%. It's not even going to be close. It's not that simple.
Christopher Lawrence headed into the regular season finale last year already pretty much locked into the playoffs on points, but he wanted to be able to have a 1 in the win column, and he was able to do it in the regular season finale at Daytona. If he's able to close out the deal here today, it would be his first win on a racetrack other than a super speedway under the BackFire banner. Tom Bourne, he's still looking for his first career win. He's been close a number of times in the last few weeks. And Aaron Brown, trying to get that distinguishment as the first repeat winner here in the second season after taking the checkered flag back at the Texas Motor Speedway. TJ Roberts, Trey Whitehead, they're still in the mix in 4th and 5th. How about Wesley Fuller up there? He's now in the 6th spot, only his 2nd start in the season. Kyle Gartner, we keep talking about the consistency of this 49. He's up there in 7th. Noah Owens will be restarting 8th. Josh Mayu and Patrick McQuaid. That's going to be the top 10 here, coming to potentially the final restart of the day. And I find it interesting, too. We talked about that we have that one extra lap, that one extra mile here at New Hampshire. Had we not had that one extra lap, we would have been in overtime. Because we have that one extra lap, we may finish this race under regulation.
Maybe. Fingers crossed. Who really knows? I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right?
Not at all. Let's see what's going to happen here. Is it's going to be an in-regulation green-white checkered. Lawrence, Bourne, and Brown have all taken turns at the front here today, but they want to lead that most important last lap. And again, don't take anything for granted, because we saw 2 drivers battling for the lead get collected up in an incident off of turn 2. So everybody else here inside of the top 5 and top 10 still have a shot as Lawrence gets us back under green. Great launch for him. 5, 6 car lengths before we get to turn 1.
And it's big for Lawrence. He's got to stick that car as far out there as possible. Bourne is going to have a go at him, but Bourne's freshly got damage from that collection with the Whiteheads as well. Roberts gets it loose. Car in the infield.
That is Zachary Woods, I do believe, out of harm's way. No caution. Can we get back to the white as Brown really overdrove turn 3 up into the wall? Lawrence hoping he can get to the start-finish line, and he will. Here comes Bourne looking for the spot into 1.
Yeah, and it's not as simple as that. Bourne is going to have a crack at it. Lawrence has got a long way to go yet. There's 2 corners left to decide this thing, and I think he might have it on that high line. Bourne's loose!
He still raced back to the checkered flag as Bourne dropping down the running order after his spin the back straightaway. Here's Brown. He's going to put the bumper to the 9 of Christopher Lawrence. Tries to get him up out of the way. Lawrence defends the bottom as they head for home. Side by side, beating and banging. Lawrence is going to lose the lead. Brown's going to get it. First repeat winner on the season.
On Bourne, man, he threw that one away. So TJ Roberts comes away with P4. Trey Whitehead gets his way into the commentary box for the first time, I think. Oh no, sorry, they were in the com box last time. But what a race to come to the end. I mean, there was a lot of opportunities for a lot of drivers out there tonight, and a fair few guys, I think, threw opportunities away when they had them.
Within striking distance at New Hampshire, sometimes you got to use the chrome horn, and that's exactly what Aaron Brown did. Upset the 9 of Christopher Lawrence. The 2 exchanged some paint down the front straightaway, and it was Aaron Brown who was able to keep the momentum up. He's going to be able to burn it down for the 2nd time this season, the first repeat winner on the year. And Aaron Brown now going to be one of those drivers that's going to, more than likely with this victory, maybe solidify himself a playoff spot on points. We'll have to wait and see about that, but obviously the confidence level is going to be high going into Watkins Glen. Yeah,
I'd have a look at the JKL Motorsports guys burning it down as a team as well. This is a team effort. There may have only been one guy off at the point for a bulk period of the race, but the 96 of Vickery was there throughout periods. Kerfan had a long run from the back end of the field, but, you know, he tried. He kept himself in there, and I really want to throw this out to the JKR guys. It would be great to see support. Richmond made it to the race tonight. I don't know why he wasn't in the race. That one baffles me, so we're going to need to ask, I think, Aaron about what was going on there.
Aaron Brown, 2-time winner on the season. Of course, JKR Motorsports looking for the championship in back-to-back years. So far, that team has been able to rack up quite a number of wins this season. 2 with Brown, 1 with Kerfan, 1 with Brock Silvati. And now doing the Polish victory lap. Shades of Alan Kulwicki here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway as we take a look at tonight's finishing results. And well, I'll tell you what, the top 5, top 10 we had at the start of the race is nothing like the top 10 that we have here at the conclusion of this race. You mentioned Roberts there inside the top 5 with 4th place. Wesley Fuller up in 5th. Noah Owens able to hang on for 6th. Josh Mayu in his debut. Talk about a debut there for him as he's going to get 7th. McQuaid able to hang on for 8th. Kyle Gartner in 9th. And DJ Daniel, who had to deal with quite a bit of damage there after he'd already used his faster pair, after being out in the race lead, going to salvage a top 10 finish. But there's no doubt about it. I mean, at least for the first half of this race, and then especially for a lot of the guys that had been able to avoid the carnage early on in the second half of the race, New Hampshire turned into a race of survival.
We said that from the get-go, though. It wasn't unknown to all of these drivers that they needed to keep themselves alive and they needed to give themselves an opportunity. A lot of the drivers out there tonight, I think, drove an aggressive race. We saw a lot of problems with cars getting loose off the turns, and I mean, I didn't expect that from DJ Daniel. That's one of the drivers that, yeah, he was driving the car hard, and yeah, he was fighting for the lead of the race, but I thought he was better than that. That mistake really blew me away, and if we got an opportunity to talk to DJ Daniels in a couple weeks' time, I think he's in a really, really weird state right now. He's just moved teams, his entire support base has completely and utterly changed. I think he's comfortable. So I don't think there's a lot in that, but it's very easy to read between the lines. Ultimately, this is not the same DJ Daniels that we saw last season, and I think the best possible thing that he can do for himself, for his team, for his championship, he has to put a lot of work in to the next 2 weeks. And why do I say that? He's guaranteed to make the playoffs. He's guaranteed to get himself in. Momentum, we talked about it earlier on. I think DJ Daniels puts a lot of mindset and a lot of focus into momentum. He's having a rough season. All right, okay, you know that you're better than that. You've run at the front a lot of the times throughout the season. You potentially had wins that have just been stripped away through mistakes. What's the way that you earn those mistakes out? You get in there and you do the hard work and you do the practice. On a track like Watkins Glen next week, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect.
We're going to be talking with our top 3 finishers here in just a moment. Just an interesting point there, too, with the fact we're going to Watkins Glen. It's actually, in the 2 seasons combined here for BackFire, it's the first time that a road course is going to be run here under this banner. There was no road course stop in Season 1, so it's going to be interesting to see who the road course aces are and who are the drivers that might be going into Watkins Glen maybe in the survival mentality to try and just at least survive until Las Vegas, try and solidify their playoff positions.
Well, Seth, I was actually going to say, I'm going to try and drive the 57 car next week. I'm going to try and get Matt Rodriguez up here in the booth because I'm the road course guy. So I'm sponsoring next week's race too, which is really convenient.
There you go. Let's see if we can talk with some of our top 3 finishers, though. How about we see if we can get Trey Whitehead, who, man, had his hands full today with that 33 machine. Hey, Trey, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Man, I'll tell you what, I can only imagine how exhausted you guys must be here today. Saw you really working the wheel of that number 33, especially off of the corner. A lot of times, some really great saves, able to keep that car in one piece. But, man, I mean, just talk about trying to get yourself into a rhythm here with all these cautions coming out, trying to figure out what the car is capable of doing.
Well, I mean, on a track that you're really good at, it's really easy to find that rhythm, even if there is a lot of cautions, but this is definitely down on my list, and with all the yellows, I mean, it was so hard to find the rhythm. I mean, we had speed in practice, but speed means nothing if you can't save your tires, so I guess we were able to save our tires a little bit. We were only involved in that one really big wreck that happened between the 2 leaders. Tried to avoid it. I guess something happened. I just ended up getting into somebody, but kept it relatively clean after that and was able to capitalize on a couple mistakes by a couple guys and hold on to 3rd place. But, man, yeah, this race was so stressful just because of the fact it was so long, all the yellows, and you just can't find a rhythm, and that plays a mental toll on you during a long race like this. So, but I'm glad we were able to prevail and get another 3rd place.
It was a difficult race. I think a lot of the times, a lot of the guys get shuffled to the back, and the back is not really where people wanted to be tonight. It was difficult to dodge wrecks. Wreck avoidance was a huge part, and you had to give yourself the car at the back end of the race to actually compete with people. What was your strategy going through the field? Were you trying to maintain track position for the bulk of the race tonight? Because we definitely saw that strategy from Aaron Brown.
Yeah, definitely. The strategy going in was to take it a little easy. I think we were running, I don't know, top 5-ish, top 7-ish early on in the race. And then about halfway through, I think we were running about 9th or 10th. So I was really just trying to, stay in the top 10, not really fall out, because I felt that if I fell out of the top 10, like you said, wreck avoidance is so hard to do on a small track like this. So yeah, that was definitely the goal, staying in the top 10. But we had top 5 speed all night. like I said, got some late damage there. I ended up getting into Tom Bourne. Apologized to him after that, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it was a tough one, and it sucks for all those guys in the back that had to miss all that mayhem, because I definitely saw some of it in my rear view, and I was glad I was able to stay ahead of it all race.
Trey, you come into this race 13th in the point standings, right now up inside of a playoff position, but we documented when we came on the air, really anybody from 8th place on down still had a chance of maybe falling outside of the top 16, even today with the number of drivers that took the green flag. Drivers came into New Hampshire maybe with the mentality of, I want to survive this race with a road course coming up next week at Watkins Glen. Were you one of those drivers, or is Watkins Glen a track that you've got confidence going into?
I wouldn't say I'm one of those drivers. I do have some confidence on the road course. I think maybe depending on who all has a good day or not, I think I can get another solid top 10 and maybe even another top 5 at Watkins Glen. So yes and no, thinking about the road course coming up and how big of a points deficit I could have been in if I hadn't finished third in this race. Yeah, it does play a toll on how you decide your race strategy for a small track like New Hampshire. And I really just played it easy, and like I said, just capitalized on mistakes at the end and was able to get third. And really big points day for me and the Sizemore Motorsports crew. I mean, with the whole incident with Brock, that kind of sucks. But Ryan had some damage, but I mean, we had some charter teams up there with us as well. So, I mean, we'll take what we can get. Third place is definitely not going to hurt. We'll see where we're at in the standings, and going to Watkins Glen with a mindset of trying to get top 5 or top 10. So.
Yeah, definitely, as you said, good points day for you. Going to help keep you up there inside the top 16 in points. We'll have to see what the gap is between yourself and that cutoff line when we get to the Glen next week. But all in all, solid day for you here today. Podium finish top 3. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs, Trey.
Yeah, so I've actually got a new sponsor on the car with me this week, Buffalo Springs Barbecue Company. They sent over a little extra incentive over to the team, and I was able to run them on this car. The car looks really nice. Just can't thank Ryan over at Sizemore Motorsports enough. He does a lot of really hard work on the sponsorship side and the management side, and all the other associate sponsors with us. And definitely, I mean, this league is so much fun to run in, and it's really great exposure for these companies and stuff that want to invest in small teams like us. It's really cool to be able to get them involved and put them on the big screen like we did tonight with them. So hopefully we can get them back for next week, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, that's Trey Whitehead. He's third place here tonight at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Once again, congratulations. Best of luck next week as you try to continue to solidify yourself a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I hope it was somewhat entertaining to watch on TV. Y'all have a good one.
Looks like we may not have our second place finisher, Christopher Lawrence. I saw him just moments ago, but it looks like he may have exited out of the Discord. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity if he gets back in here to talk to our runner finisher. So for the time being, let's go down to victory lane. And I can't believe it took us this long to say it, but let's talk to our first repeat winner on the season, Aaron Brown. Aaron, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man, I mean, up and down race, it seemed like for everybody here today. We saw you be able to fight your way up there to the front of the field, got caught up in that contact with DJ Daniel off of turn 2, had to work your way back up through the field again. Had that tire advantage, though, over the rest of the competition. Was that the deciding factor that got you in clean air and eventually got you this victory?
I mean, yes, it was a factor to get me up there, but also came down at the end of the day. It really, tires wouldn't have mattered to that final. It was that bump and run move that moved him with a short track racing, like we all like to say. But yeah, but it definitely helped me to get up there. But I was glad I was able to pull that move on Christopher and move him out the way. But hard racing. It's great. Good job to him though for getting second and had moved him out the way.
I mean, difficult, very long race tonight. I mean, you got a lot of support from your teammates throughout the duration of that race as well. It was not easy by any stretch of the imaginations. Is there anyone particular from your team that made that a lot easier tonight than it necessarily could have been?
Pretty much everyone, both of them really, and also Brock helping from the sidelines. He couldn't make it tonight, did work reasons, and then he was there, coaches all along. There was not a great race for my other teammates, but they're pushing me through, helping me get
give me good words of encouragement to get me up there and hopefully get that win. And I'm glad I was able to pull it off. And yeah.
As mentioned, you spent a good portion of the first half of this race out in front. We saw you have to work your way back up through the field to get back up there in the closing stages. I mean, how difficult is it for a driver at a track like this where it's very difficult to pass to kind of be able to switch mindsets of having that clean air and then transition to having 2, 3 cars take away the line you want to run going into a corner?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle, but I knew I was a lot faster than everyone else. I was one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, so it was really just finding those lines I could take because I know I could probably get by them because I know I have a lot of practice with car control and all that, so it's really just easing it around lines that you know that it's gonna get loose, so you gotta ease it around there. And if you're good and fast enough and comfortable with the car, you can definitely take the more risky lines to get by drivers that are slower than you. And I was able to work that out. So I'm surprised I even got up there anyway. So I'm glad I was able to recover.
Well, congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on being the first repeat winner here of the second season of the BackFire Sim Racing Cup Series. And now we're going to hand the mic over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Got to thank my teammates, Alexander Kerfan, Jeffrey Victory, also Brock for being there and being there supporting us through the race. Got to thank Max Graphics there on the car, and for the patriotic thing, since I wasn't there last year. You gotta thank all the ones who risked their lives to keep our freedom in this country, and really glad they were really thankful for them to fight and keep our country safe and the people safe in this country.
That's Aaron Brown. He's your winner here tonight in the BackFire 150 presented by Phillips Golf Academy. His second win on the season, and this will propel him up through the point stands as well, possibly solidifying himself a playoff spot in the next 2 weeks. Once again, congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
And it does look like we do have our second place finisher now, so let's talk with Christopher Lawrence. Chris, Scott, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Let's go ahead once more.
Chris, Scott, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us, man? All right, looks like we may not have him available right now. I mean, obviously, there's got to be some disappointment there if you're Christopher Lawrence. Sometimes
100%.
Sometimes you're the bull and sometimes you're the horns, and unfortunately there, he was the race leader on the final lap. You knew the bump and run was going to be coming. It's typical of short tracks, typical of New Hampshire, but he tried so hard to be able to keep that 95 in his rearview mirror, even tried to do the side draft, the door bang there on the front straightaway, just couldn't keep the momentum up. But, you look at the silver line of all this, he was 7th in the points coming into this race. A top 3 finish is more than likely going to maybe move him up inside of the top 5. So again, big picture. It's all about consistency to be able to win the championship. And Christopher Lawrence, he's doing that right now.
I think, look, I mean, his actions out on track and definitely his ability to drive and his ability to put himself in the right situations at the right point in time, he's done a good job. In that aspect, I think one of the biggest issues that he's got to deal with is that he's got a little bit of an anger and a hot head problem, and he might be a league admin, but I'll call him out on that because I believe the same standard should be applied across everyone. Chris Lawrence, he's a great driver. At the end of the day, that's what you've got to remember. The guy can drive a car. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying, he's not backing himself up. 100% he can. Mentally right now, he's got to reset himself. Yeah, he threw away to win, but P2's a great points finish, and that qualifies him in. The issue, and I think the thing that he's worried about, is that that's another win that goes in the column of Aaron Brown, and that's another advantage that Brown's going to have over the entire field. And who's in that field? Chris Lawrence, Tom Boyd, all of these guys now. Aaron Brown getting that second win, all of a sudden, he pushes himself so far clear of most of the challenges that he has just about ensured himself he needs just a clean finish. It doesn't need to be a great finish, just a clean finish to get himself through to the next round in terms of the playoffs contention. So look, I mean, everyone's got an opportunity. Everyone's got the ability to run well at different points throughout the race, and Aaron Brown is now just about locked himself into that final four.
It definitely shifts the momentum into favor of that 95, that's for certain. Let's see if we can try here for one final time to see if we can dial up our second place finisher. Chris, Scott, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Got us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so man, I mean, obviously, there's got to be disappointment not being able to bring this number 9 home in victory lane. Still a solid points day for you, and up there in the conversation to be able to take this checkered flag, but definitely a hard-fought second place, it seemed like, here today as well.
Yeah, we fought adversity all day. A little disappointing not to be able to bring it home at the end there. But, Aaron did what he had to do to win the race.
Is there any I'm trying to think of the right word. Is there any animosity towards the way that he wins the race, or are you just like, okay, that's just hard short track racing. I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable with that. And if that's the way that he's going to race, that's the way that he's going to race. Let's race him back that same way.
No, there's no animosity with the 95. I mean, it's the last lap, last corner. You got to do what you got to do, I guess. Some people do that. They give you the bumper, and some people, race you clean to the end. So you just remember it. The next time he's in front of you, and you're behind, and you're going for the win. But he took it today, and that's racing.
Some interesting tracks here at the end of the regular season on the schedule. New Hampshire obviously here tonight, and then next week, first time that a road course makes its appearance on a BackFire sim racing schedule with Watkins Glen. I mean, how much of a curveball do you think that's going to throw drivers? How much of an impact do you think that's going to make on what we've seen for a very close points battle for that final 16th playoff spot?
I mean, it's with road, you never know what's going to happen. Some people are good at it, some people aren't. I think it's going to be a much needed break for for some of us to be able to just run some hot laps around a road course, I guess.
Well, Chris, obviously coming into this race, 7th in the point standings, this is going to continue to climb you up in the points and keep you in the hunt there for one of those playoff positions with 2 races remaining. So congratulations on that. Congratulations as well being able to hang on to that race car to be able to get that second place finish here tonight. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for putting on a good broadcast. We appreciate having you guys around. Chris Hubka and BackFire, all the drivers here. We appreciate it. That's going to do it.
That's Chris Lawrence, P2, here today at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Congratulations once again, Chris, and see you next week at the Glen.
Thank you.
So that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from the Magic Mile. And for several drivers, the magic was that their cars were still in one piece when they got back to the start-finish line to receive the checkered flag. But one thing that's kind of in the back of my mind here, you look at all these racetracks we've been at, Michigan, Talladega, Charlotte, we've seen the rivalries that have built up, and we saw a couple of them, a little bit of the payback come to fruition here today at New Hampshire, a track that races in many ways like a short track. Next week at Watkins Glen, there's going to be opportunities for drivers to be nose to tail as well. Have the rivalries settled down here? Has New Hampshire been the kind of the battleground where those rivalries have finally been settled out, and now we just focus on those final 2 races in terms of consistency, in terms of playoff spots? We put all those rivalries kind of aside for now?
No. I mean, we're coming towards the tail end of the season. We're going to a track where a lot of the drivers are going to struggle right the way throughout the race. We're entering dangerous waters. We're entering some of the most complicated racing that we're going to see for the remainder of the season. So, look, I mean, these guys have all got an opportunity. They've all got the potential to put themselves one step further forwards, and I expect them to take full advantage of that.
Should be very interesting as we've got Watkins Glen next week. In 2 weeks' time is the regular season finale when we hit the West Coast at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And after that, we will know the 16 drivers that are going to be battling for the 5-race chase for the championship. Should be very interesting here heading down into the closing stages of the regular season. But crazy one here tonight. A lot of wrecked race cars coming around. I know that the Wheel and Modifieds run here at New Hampshire, and a lot of these stock cars looked a lot like those Modifieds by the time this race was over, but pretty much the entirety of the field surviving to get to the start-finish line and take this checkered flag, but it was Aaron Brown with the bump and run on the final lap, picking up his second win on the season, first driver to find victory lane multiple times here in Season 2. Scott, had a crazy one here today, a lot of fender banging, a lot of door banging, a lot of torn up race cars, but at the end of the day, it's been a thriller here at New Hampshire. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Look, I mean, again, the league I care about, a league I'm passionate for, and had a lot of close racing. I mean, it was a little bit of disappointment to see it go that long with that many cautions, but at the same time, I mean, everybody wanted their opportunity to get out there and show their stuff, so they're allowed to do that, and it's just tough racing, short track racing, and it's New Hampshire as a whole.
Definitely is. Well, going to be interesting to see what happens when these drivers take the right and left-hand turns at Watkins Glen next week. Hope you guys will join us for that, with the green flag scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So once again, congratulations to Aaron Brown on the victory here today. And we will see you guys next week. As for Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.